All right. Good morning, everyone, to all our participants joining us here at the Pilar Herrera Hall of Palma Hall here in UP Diliman. Okay, we have prepared some snacks and refreshments, so please enjoy while we wait for the program to begin. So earlier, yan nga po, nagkapag-refreshments na po tayo. And to our participants joining us from Zoom, ayan nga po, no? Feel free to let everyone know your affiliation and location. To the participants joining us from Facebook Live, so we would also greatly appreciate if you're going to let us know where you're from at ano po ang inyong mga affiliation and location. So I am Larry Ilic Enzo Oribio from the University of the Philippines Office of the Vice President for Academic Affairs, and I will be your host for today's event. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the AI for Sustainable Tomorrow, Policy Innovations for APEC and the Philippines. This event is organized by the Philippine Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Study Center Network of the Philippine Institute for Development Studies in collaboration with the University of the Philippines. This morning, we will explore how artificial intelligence can be a powerful enabler of sustainability, innovation, and inclusive policy development across the Asia-Pacific region and the Philippines. As we face accelerating climate changes, resource constraints, and digital divides, AI presents new possibilities to build smarter, greener, and more resilient societies. Through this symposium, we will examine how policy innovations can harness AI to drive environmental sustainability, promote equitable development, and align with APEC's shared goals for a digitally empowered future. We encourage you to join the conversations and be heard online. Just don't forget to use our hashtags, hashtag PIDS, PASCN XUP, hashtag AI for Sustainable Tomorrow, and hashtag Responsible AI. Before we officially start the program, may I request those who are with us online to settle down and those who are with us on site to please rise and sing the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perwas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, kita masisingil, sa lagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mo banghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang tinamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y nagumpay na nakikinig, ang bituin ng araw niya kailan magpalit magdidilig. Lupa ng araw ng kahit magsip na, buhay natin sa likod. Aming ligaya na may mamagin, at namatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Thank you very much. You may now all be seated. Okay, good morning and welcome once again, everyone. How is everyone doing? Good naman po. Ayan. How was your rainy morning? Malamig? Rainy? Was it, a morning raining with blessings as well? Ayan naman pala. Siguro naman ay nafe-feel natin yung blessings even though it's medyo makulimlim po, no? And are you excited to listen to our speakers for today? Oh yeah, okay. Can I get a thumbs up from our live audience if you are ready? Asa na? Okay, thumbs up. And how about some reactions from our Zoom and Facebook live viewers? Oh, wala. O, kunin natin dito sa ating live audience. How about some thumbs ups, live audience? Ayan. How about some heart reactions? Wow. Heart, okay. Good job. Wow. Parang mga estudyante lang, ano. But yeah, we need that kind of energy for today's event because I hope you all are excited as I am, as we are honored to have distinguished speakers and experts who will share their insights, best practices, and forward-thinking strategies for harnessing AI to build a more sustainable and inclusive future. The discussion will not only highlight the transformative power of AI across sectors like climate resilience, education, and public health, but will also focus on how responsible innovation can empower communities, strengthen governance, and shape policies that leave no one behind. So I welcome everyone joining us here at the Pilar Herrera Hall, UP Diliman, and those joining us via Zoom. We are also live on the PIDS, SERP-P, and UP System, UP OVPAA Facebook pages. We encourage everyone to actively participate, share your insights, and take full advantage of this day of learning and collaboration. To formally start our program, it is my honor to call on stage the president of PIDS for his welcome remarks. Please welcome Dr. Aniceto C. Orbeta Jr. and let's give him a round of applause.
Ang magandang umaga at mapagpalayang umaga sa ating lahat. UP language. Right? On the eve of the Independence Day, it is an honor to address you here at the University of the Philippines to greet our colleagues joining via Zoom and Facebook Live. I sincerely thank the University of the Philippines System under President Angelo Jimenez for graciously hosting and co-organizing this event with PIDS. We assemble at a defining juncture, the age of artificial intelligence. AI is no longer a novelty. It is already reshaping economies, governance, and human well-being. Across the 21 APEC economies and here at home, the central challenge is clear. How we can deploy AI responsibly to advance sustainability, inclusion, and innovation for nearly 3 billion people. PricewaterhouseCoopers projects that AI could raise global GDP by up to 14% or 15.7 trillion USD by 2030, exceeding the current combined output of China and India. Yet disparities in digital infrastructure, regulation, and institutional readiness remain stark across APEC. The Philippines has begun to act. Department of Trade and Industry National's AI Strategy Roadmap and the Center for AI Artificial Research or ECAIR, which many of the professionals are here today, aims to position the country as an ethical, inclusive, and innovation-driven AI hub under Tatak Pinoy framework. These initiatives focuses on governance, skills, R&D, and enterprise growth. Still, serious gaps persist. The PSA reports that only 56% of households in the country has internet access, and digital literacy lags, particularly in rural areas. Without inclusive policies, AI could deepen rather than narrow inequality. A 2022 PIDS study highlights the need for a coordinated action, substantial investment in infrastructure and education, clear governance frameworks, and close interagency collaboration to ensure that AI strengthens competitiveness while safeguarding accountability. Today's symposium offers a timely platform to evaluate how Philippines and its APEC partners can integrate AI into the national development agendas while upholding sustainability, equity, and resilience. I invite everyone here to think critically, ask hard questions, and engage fully. We are privileged to learn from the distinguished experts who will outline the policy levers and institutional arrangements needed for responsible use of AI. Dr. Eugene Jalao, Dr. Sebastian Ibañez, Mr. Sebastian Felipe Bundoc, Mr. Jose Marie Minoza, of course, our very own Dr. Rafaelita Aldaba, Professor Percival Armuro, Dr. Erika Legara, and Mr. Marcos Angelo Punsalang. Before closing, allow me to mark a meaningful transition within PIDS. Serving as its president since 2021 has been a privilege. I will soon pass on the torch to Dr. Arnold Philip Tuanyo, whom you will hear later, whose leadership will sustain PIDS' commitment to rigorous and evidence-based policy research. As we celebrate Independence Day tomorrow, let us seize this moment to craft AI policies that advance a sustainable and inclusive future for the Philippines and the broader APEC region para sa isang mapagpalayang Pilipinas. Our choice today will shape technological progress and the society we aspire to build. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to today's productive and forward-looking discussions. Good morning.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Orbeta. So I like what Dr. Orbeta highlighted earlier. So we will ask hard questions for today and take advantage of all the knowledge and skills and expertise of our speakers for today para sa mapagpalayang bansa natin. So yeah, and I also would like to thank Dr. Orbeta for the service that he did with PASCN. Okay, so for this, at this juncture, we are going to witness the keynote speech as we welcome the President of the University of the Philippines, Attorney Angelo A. Jimenez, for a recorded video. Friends, let us give a round of applause to Attorney Jimenez.
Dr. Francis Mark A. Kimba, Director of the Philippine APEC Study Center Network. Distinguished members of the business community, esteemed colleagues from the academe, honored delegates from our network members and partners. Maayong buntag kaninyong tanan. Good morning to everyone here in UP Diliman and to those joining us online. It is a pleasure and an honor to speak before this distinguished audience. Allow me to express my deep appreciation to the Philippine APEC Study Center Network and the Philippine Institute for Development Studies for organizing this important and timely event. Artificial intelligence, or AI, continues to shape our economies, societies, and institutions in ways we are only beginning to fully grasp. A symposium like this allows us to reflect, engage, and respond with clarity and purpose. I also commend how this year's theme, AI for a Sustainable Tomorrow, Policy Innovations for APEC and the Philippines, aligns so well with APEC 2025 Korea's vision of building a sustainable tomorrow. Connect, innovate, prosper. It is not only forward-looking, but deeply relevant to the Philippine context as we navigate our own development journey in the digital era. We gather today not only to examine the technological capabilities of AI, but to weigh the ethical, institutional, and policy frameworks needed to harness it responsibly. We must approach artificial intelligence not merely as a tool for progress, but as a transformative force that must serve the public good. AI holds immense promise. It has already begun accelerating innovation, improving public service delivery, and enhancing productivity across sectors, from the optimization of supply chains to the sophistication of financial forecasting. AI is proving indispensable in an increasingly volatile and interconnected global economy. And yet, as with any powerful innovation, we are confronted with serious questions. How will AI affect our workforce? What ethical standards should govern its use? How do we safeguard privacy, equity, and democratic values in the face of such sweeping change? As president of UP and as a lawyer, I am attuned to both the rational and normative dimensions of these questions. AI is challenging us to redefine what reason, justice, and governance mean in an era of machine learning and automated decision-making. It is not just a question of how AI works, but for whom it should work and to what ends. In this light, I firmly believe that AI must contribute to a sustainable and inclusive future for all Filipinos. It must uplift rather than exclude. It must empower rather than marginalize. To do this, we must invest in the right foundations, robust digital infrastructure, accessible technology, and most importantly, people. Our people must be equipped with the skills to thrive in an AI-powered world. Lifelong learning, digital literacy, and equitable access to education are no longer optional. They are essential. This commitment to inclusion must extend to those often left at the margins: informal workers, rural communities, women, persons with disabilities. AI must not deepen existing divides, but bridge them. The challenges posed by AI cannot be solved in silos. Sound, evidence-based policymaking is essential if we are to harness AI's benefits while managing its risk. In this regard, I commend the PASCN and the PIDS for your continued role in producing rigorous research that informs our policy direction. Your work is invaluable in ensuring that our policies are not only technically sound, but also socially responsive. Moreover, collaboration across sectors, government, academia, business, and civil society is critical. The questions AI raises are too complex for any one institution to solve alone. We need policies that are adaptive, forward-looking, and grounded in our development realities. At the regional level, cooperation through APEC offers us a powerful platform to learn from one another. Shared experiences, shared solutions, and shared standards can guide us towards ethical and effective AI integration in our societies. In closing, let us remember that the future of AI in the Philippines and across the Asia-Pacific will not be shaped by technology alone, but by the values and vision we bring to its development and use. We are not mere observers of this transformation. We are its stewards. And as stewards, we must lead with both courage and compassion. Daghang salamat kaninyong tanan. I wish you all a productive and insightful symposium.
Thank you very much po, no, President Jimenez, for that wonderful speech. And I hope you are ready to hear our discussions for today. So, parinig naman po ng excited? Woo! Ayan. Okay. At the moment, we are also joined by about 250 Zoom participants today. Ayan, kaway-kaway naman po sa mga Zoom participants natin dyan. And we encourage everyone to share our Facebook Live event in this exciting discussion. To guide us through our first panel titled Centering Education in AI Innovation, Ethics, Governance, and Use Cases, we're joined by someone who brings not just expertise, but also passion for innovation and inclusive policy development. He is an associate professor at the Ateneo de Manila University, Department of Economics, and currently the director of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development, and a board member of the Social Weather Stations. A former awardee of the Outstanding Young Scientist in the field of economics by the Philippine National Academy of Science and Technology, he specializes in applied econometrics and has published in the areas of international migration, labor, education, poverty, and inequality. Let's give a warm welcome to our moderator, Dr. Jeffrey Ducanes.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first panel session of this symposium, as already mentioned. The panel session is titled Centering Education in AI Innovation, Ethics, Governance, and Use Cases. So for this session, we will have 3 presentations with 4 presenters and 1 discussant. The problems of Philippine education system are well known and well discussed in the 2nd Congressional Commission on Education's Year 1 and Year 2 reports. So we all know this, the poor learning outcomes, the very poor performance in PISA and TIMSS, the growing gap between male and female performance, the wide inequality in higher education institutions. So the question is, to what extent can AI be utilized to improve education service delivery and learning outcomes in the country? So first, what principles should govern the use of AI for education? What is the current state of AI utilization in Philippine education? So these are the issues that will be covered in this panel session. So each presentation will be given 12 minutes each, and then we will have including the discussant, and then we will have the open forum after the presentations and discussion. So our first presenter is Dr. Eugene Rex Jalao. Dr. Jalao is a professor of AI and Industrial Engineering at UP Diliman, Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research and Artificial Intelligence Program. He specializes in decision support systems, business analytics solutions, data mining, optimization, and systems simulation. He obtained his PhD in Industrial Engineering from Arizona State University and his Master's of Science in IE and Bachelor of Science in IE from UP Diliman. He has 15 years of work and research experience in the fields of business analytics in the Philippines as well as in the US. He is a certified SAP ERP materials management consultant, an NVIDIA certified deep learning instructor, a MATLAB computing associate, and an advocate of DR and Python programming languages. So let us welcome Professor Eugene Rex Jalao.
Thank you po for the kind introduction, Dr. Ducanes. The the first part of the presentation, first presentation, I'll deal with the principles and the ethical boundaries of AI. So as you have seen kanina, President Gigil has mentioned that the University of the Philippines has started developing or started developed an AI ethical use framework for academia. And basically, I would just like to emphasize the concepts that was written in that, because the AI program of UP, as well as other consultants, helped write the frameworks, okay, that other universities and other institutions basically can utilize in doing AI. So right. So just an intro. Bill Gates says that we should all be worried about AI. I think the Hollywood versions of AI is really scary. But basically, what we have nowadays are AIs that solve specific problems. So as you can see here, a computer vision application telling that there's a tiger in the street, but basically it's just simply a dog with stripes, shadows. All right, so that's the current state of AI. All right, so we pride ourselves that, okay, we've used AI, we have all of this technology, but it has to be put in the context of ethical use. All right. So we, from the AI program of UP Diliman, define as AI is concerned with the design and construction of intelligent systems that perceive, reason out, formulate a decision, and act in an environment to achieve a set of measurable goals. So in essence, we define AI as a system that developers create, deploy, and have the users interact with the AI. And I think we've seen examples of self-driving cars or intelligent prediction models predicting the diseases that would help doctors. Those are just some use cases. I'm sure my colleagues later on will show a lot of use cases of AI. But in essence, how do we structure the framework for the use of AI? I have 10 minutes left. Now, okay. So let me go straight into what we have written in the AI, AI principles. Okay, I would like to summarize them into 5 points. First one, there should be human agency, oversight, and accountability. Second, AI should be fair, non-discriminating, and it should promote collaboration. Number 3, it should have explainability, interpretability, traceability, and transparency. Number 4, it should have safety, security, and robustness. And lastly, it should promote the well-being of everyone. Okay? So when we talk about human agency, here, AI should be driven by ethical considerations with respect to human rights. Okay, it should never exploit users. You should always generate AI such that mabe-benefit yung people. Okay, so whenever we develop AI solutions in our program, we always think, what is the end goal? Is it really to improve our lives as citizens of this country, right? Human-centered design should be the core of AI development, focusing on user needs, values, and experiences to ensure AI technologies are beneficial and aligned with human values. Okay? Data governance and privacy should be given utmost attention. We have a laws on data privacy, so it's basically just simply implementing it when we're talking about AI. And accountability is crucial. This is a bit fuzzy because when you develop an AI and the AI make a mistake, who is accountable? Okay, there are still discussions that still need to be, shall we say, addressed by either ethical frameworks or laws. Okay, but again, over-regulation is also not a good thing. Okay. Next is fairness, non-discrimination, and collaboration. To the extent possible, AI should be assessed for potential bias and discrimination, especially the data, models, and algorithms that are used. Excuse me. Collaborative procedures should be in place to proactively identify, mitigate, and remedy potential harm. So when we are to use AI developed in other countries, of course, the data they use to train those models come from the country. So it might be biased to the culture that's been trained upon. All right. So whenever we develop AI, you have to make sure that there is no discrimination in terms of whether by gender, by race, and so on and so forth. So in essence, we always make sure that there is no discrimination, right? And of course, collaborative procedures should be in place to remedy potential harms. Okay? Now, the third principle for AI that we emphasize in UP is that although medyo controversial siya, AI should be explainable, interpretable, traceable, and transparent. However, a lot of the AI algorithms that we use are called black boxes, right? So you can't know what's happening inside that model. So in essence, you just simply trust the accuracy of the models that been spitting out predictions, as compared to a white box model down there. This is a classical machine learning model where you give the if then else statements and you get a prediction at the end, right? So as much as possible, we use white box models, but if it's not the case, then okay, it's okay, but you have to make sure it is unbiased, it is fair to everyone who's concerned. Okay? Now, the development, deployment, and the use of AI should build trust between users and the systems. Individuals should be informed as much as possible when AI is being used. This method should be explainable, interpretable, and traceable to the extent possible. And individuals should be able to understand the potential range of AI outcomes, the ways to challenge those, and provide meaningful remedies to address any harms. An interpretable model should be preferred that can be constructed to achieve the same level of performance. And in high-stakes solutions, if we're talking about the lives of people, AI explainability is a must. Okay? The fourth principle is all about safety. So I think we all agree with this, right? Whenever we build AI systems, it should be safe, right? Protective systems must be robust enough to compromising safety and security is never acceptable. And in context, robustness refers to the capacity of AI to endure and surmount adverse circumstances, including threats. Okay? Kailangan i-protect yung privacy ng mga users. And then, of course, we have to follow legal laws, data privacy law, fairness and non-discrimination laws, customer protection laws, intellectual property. That's also a very good discussion because AI has the capability to generate text or even media like music or images, but still, who will basically be the ones to own those types of output? So there's still a lot of things that we need to talk about when it comes to intellectual property with regards to AI. Okay? And sustainability, all right? Which we all know, AI requires a lot of energy. Yung bill namin sa College of Engineering, yung Meralco namin, we started with 20,000 before we bought our high-performance servers, our DGX servers. After that, 150,000 na agad yung bill namin. Because of the amount of energy it requires to run our models. Okay? So, in essence, these principles would need the support of the government by setting legal frameworks, designing ethical guidelines, enforcing compliance, research innovation, international collaboration. Academia is, of course, here to do responsible AI development and self-regulation. proactive risk assessment, education, and collaboration. And industries, of course, to do AI development, self-regulation, open data, and other best practices. Of course, sharing data. Okay, so let me end with this. For the very reason for its use, the deployment and development of AI should be for the common good and benefit of humanity in general by fostering inclusive economic growth, social equity, sustainable development, enhancement of human capital, political empowerment, enrichment of culture, elevation of education, and enhancement of well-being while protecting the environment and being sustainable. All right, so this is what we always push, right? Being fair to everyone concerned, excuse me, elevating our way of life while protecting the environment. Okay, so the last few slides are just fillers. See, although we have an AI program here in UPD, we do an MEng in AI, a PhD in AI, and a PhD in data science. All of these produce solutions to solve a lot of society's problems, right? You're free to apply, and our equipment and our research stems from underwater data up to mathematical optimization and visualization. Okay? As I mentioned, we have 24 A100 GPU servers to train our modest models. OpenAI has 1,000 of these, so we're getting there. Okay, so again, we need further funding to further develop our capacity and, of course, to produce more AI research geared towards helping humanities. Okay, so again, one takeaway here is we have to invest in AI now with the principles that I have mentioned, safeguarding the modest ethical use of AI as any technology that's available in the near future. All right, with that, thank you very much, and I'll turn you over again to Dr. Ducatis for introduction to the next. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Jalao. Our second presenter is Dr. Sebastian Ibañez. Dr. Ibañez is the Deputy Chief AI and Data Officer at the Education Center for AI Research, or ECAIR, under the Department of Education. At ECAIR, he leads a team of data scientists, engineers, and researchers directing the center's efforts to drive AI innovation, build capacity in AI and data science through training, and to shape policy for the responsible and impactful integration of AI in education. Dr. Ibañez is also an adjunct faculty member of the Philippine Institute of Management, where he teaches programming, mathematics, statistics, and machine learning. So let us please welcome Dr. Ibañez.
So good morning, everyone. I'll try to make my presentation as short and concise as possible. We also have here some of our data scientists from the Center for AI Research, and they'll probably be talking about the more interesting aspects of what we do, which are the use cases now. But I wanted to do an introduction as well to the center. Okay. So really, my presentation is about introducing what we do at the center. But before I do that, I just want to give a brief background about sort of like the context, right? And I think we've been hearing about a lot of the context from the previous speaker, Prof. Rex, as well as from what we hear in the media, and of course, what we hear from our policy researchers. So I think it's clear in terms of investment. There's a lot of potential gains, economic opportunities that can arise from the use of AI as a technology, right? When we look at our peers, or when we look at the countries abroad, we can see that they've been pouring a lot of investment in terms of AI as a technology, not just the technology itself, but also in terms of talent, right? So when you think about like what are we doing as a country, Right? That is where the center comes in. But one of the unique prospects about AI as a technology is that it's actually one of the few technologies that actually cuts across fields. Right? So you can find applications for AI in agriculture, manufacturing, businesses, healthcare, retail and e-commerce, and of course in education as well, which is actually the focus of the work of our center. Right? But one of the challenges about adopting this technology is it can be quite difficult for the technology to land, right? And there are several reasons for this, right? First is high costs. Buying AI as a technology can be very expensive, not just in terms of the hardware required to run, but also in terms of the software, in terms of the talent. So it has a high barrier to entry in terms of spending or investment. There can also be challenges when it comes to awareness and understanding about what the technology can do. So sometimes our leaders can be blind or biased towards adopting the technology into their organizations. There's also scarcity in terms of talent, and this is one of the problems that's very close to my heart, at least, in terms of like being able to retain our talent. Right, AI as a field is very high in demand, and something that we have to realize, or what government or academia has to realize, is that talent in the AI space is we are in direct competition with the industry, and we are in direct competition with our international neighbors as well. So we're severely lacking in terms of the talent that we retain. Of course, there are also infrastructure gaps, right? In the Philippines, when we say AI, it's not just about having access to a computer or the internet. It's also about having access to electricity, right? So these sorts of things, when we think about like infrastructure gaps, not just from an organizational perspective, but from a national perspective, there's some parts of the Philippines that still don't have access to things like electricity. And lastly, of course, is data issues. There are many organizations that are interested in adopting AI into their workflows, but when we approach these organizations, it turns out that their data is not yet ready for these applications, and so work still has to be done in terms of data preparation, right? Making sure that we're that the data is clean. That's one, but also that we're collecting the right data, right? So often there's a mismatch between what leaders want solved versus the data that they're collecting. So going back to the center as it was created, the center was originally envisioned as part of the National AI Strategy Roadmap, and the 2.0 version was launched last July under the Department of Trade and Industry, right? And the establishment for a Center for AI Research was actually one of the strategic tasks listed under this roadmap. This roadmap, however, has since been superseded by DOST's National AI Strategy. Sorry, the clicker. So National AI Strategy for the Philippines, or NAISPH. So this AI roadmap has now superseded that original roadmap under the direction of the president. DOST has been tasked with organizing, collating the entire government's efforts in the AI space. So with that as a background, so we can talk more about our work. So I had mentioned previously that we were known as the Center for AI Research, and we were originally established last year under the Department of Trade and Industry. But now we are currently housed under the Department of Education. And with that, we did a bit of rebranding. So we are now called the Education Center for AI Research, or ECAIR. So our mission is really to, and this remains true since we were established last year, is to elevate the Philippines as a center for excellence in AI research and innovation, and we want to be a premier destination for AI-driven education in the region. Right? When we look at our neighbors like Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, we see that they put a lot of investment in terms of making sure that the country is ready in terms of innovation, and we want to be able to play that role for our country. So ECAIR in particular is a strategic initiative under the Department of Education in conjunction with Simeo Innotech. Our goal is to ensure that where we apply AI, we apply AI where it matters most, which is in education. When you think about like the long-term effects of having impact in society, education is one of those key areas where we can actually see a lot of gains. And AI as a technology has the potential to leapfrog, short circuit a lot of the resource gaps that we have, right? And so under the leadership of Sec. Sonny Angara, we're very grateful to be given the opportunity to be able to work for the education sector, right? And naturally, of course, under the direction of the president as well. So at ECAIR, we essentially have three verticals or three strands. First is our innovation strand. So this is where a lot of our use cases, our projects, this is where they're housed. And later I'll be showing, or our team will be showing two use cases that we're working on under this innovation strand. But also we also have a education, training, and capacity building vertical where our goal is to help bridge that talent scarcity gap. And lastly, we also have a research and policy development strand where we try to turn a lot of our learnings in building our innovation projects into policy, into new policy. Right? So we see, as we're working through a lot of the problems at the Department of Education, we actually see a lot of the gaps in terms of the policy. Are you collecting the right data? Do you have the right processes in place? So these are the things that we also advise on. So I had mentioned earlier that one of the challenges is talent, right? So AI is a very specialized piece of technology. You need good people that are very familiar with the field. And as I mentioned, we do have some challenges when it comes to retaining our talent, not just from a government perspective, not just because we compete with industry, but because we compete with other countries abroad. And I'm sure we have a lot of professors in the audience now, and I'm sure you're thinking like, how many of your best and brightest students are now currently abroad and not here right now? Like when mostly because they might not have a place for them to work in, right? We have research labs here in the Philippines, but they're scattered around the universities. There's also some gaps in terms of like connecting them to the industry and to the government as well. And so there are some efforts that are underway to sort of help that. The OST has its own program in terms of bridging these things, but we hope to also be a place where we can attract talent, right? So that's one of the goals of the center, to be one of the places where we can create a critical mass of AI talent in the country. So just to briefly introduce some of our projects, we currently have 7 innovation projects running. We had the opportunity a few weeks back to present some of the work that we've done at an international conference sponsored by or organized by Sameo Inotech. Our projects are called Saliksik, Talino, Paaral, Sigla, Sabay, Ligtas, and Dunong. And we have a very young and lean team of scientists and researchers working on these projects right now. Later, we'll be showing 2 of our projects, which are Paaral and Ligtas. Okay? So we'll be showing you like some of the work that we've been doing for the Department of Education. But lastly, I just wanted to show you, again, we have 7 projects and they cut across like different use cases, right? So we have computer vision problems, natural language processing problems. We also have some geospatial analytics problems as well that we do for the Department of Education. So that is where I will end my presentation. I'll pass it off to my teammates to talk about our use cases more in detail. And hopefully those will be a more interesting talk. Right? Thank you.
Our third presentation will have 2 presenters. The first is Mr. Jose Marie Antonio Minoza. Mr. Minoza is a senior data scientist and AI researcher at the Center for AI Research. He specializes in developing advanced AI approaches that integrate domain expertise with data-driven methods to address challenges in climate science, natural hazards assessment, public health, and education. Mr. Minoza holds a Master of Science in Computer Science from UP Diliman and a Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics with Information Technology from Far Eastern University, Manila. The second is Mr. Eli Bundoc. Mr. Bundoc is with ECAIR at DepEd. He has worked extensively on education issues, having worked not just with DepEd, but also with CHED and EDCOM too. His roles have included policy writing, grant management, stakeholder engagement, and data analysis. Mr. Bundoc has a Master of Science in Data Science from the Asian Institute of Management. So first, Mr. Minoza. So you have 12 minutes combined for your presentation.
Hello, good morning. So what we the topic that we'll be sharing with you is the project Ligtas. So is the slides updated already? Okay. So project Ligtas stands for Learning Institution, Geohazard Tracking, and Assessment for Safety. Or in general, it's a multi-hazard analytics for school resilience. This project aims to make sure that during a disaster when hits our schools, learning institutions, we are able to be resilient, no students left behind, especially in their safety and learning outcomes. So to start, in general, here in the Philippines, as we experienced earlier, there's a rainy morning earlier, and in normal academic school calendar, we don't have enough or precise class suspensions, regardless of natural hazards that happen. So it's actually a dilemma when a class suspension is implemented in a certain region, but there's no raindrop actually when you look out in the window. And then there are some instances that those students are already at risk and they are at school because there's no class suspensions that being implemented. So this is a crucial issue currently when we have a natural hazard happening here. So, and weather systems are affecting our country in different instances. Moreover, with the recent climate change happening, extreme heat, so we experiencing a really diverse phenomenon that from the temperature that we experiencing before. It's not what we experienced during the high school, I guess, during elementary days. Those students experiencing be alike learning in a hot oven. How can a student ever learn in that particular environment? And more so, those students that already left behind are pushed harder in that boundary. We cannot help them with these particular environmental issues. And so this project Ligtas, aims to try to solve these particular issues. So Project Ligtas aims to transform educational resilience by linking natural hazards with learning outcomes using AI, enabling target interventions, strategies, alternative delivery modes, creating adaptive learning environment for them that maintains progressive learning outcomes, reading proficiency, for example, despite the environmental challenges across the region. So how do we solve this particular problem? So in general, we can think of our educational system as like this particular framework. Just like this, there's our interventions, these are the lesson plans, the strategies that we prepare for the students have a better learning outcome later on, how we prepare the teachers, and then we have resources. These are the status of the buildings, the facilities, the electricities that we have, and the learning outcomes, the student performance. This is what we can measure and quantitatively to measure what are the students were able to learn during that particular school year. But in the Philippines, we cannot do exact better learning outcomes because we have some external factors, these natural hazards. landslide, earthquake, volcanic activity like what currently happening in Mount Canlaon, and typhoon that will be coming on the next months. So this particular node in a network affects our learning outcome, interrupts the learning days, and destroy the learning environment. So this is what Project Ligtas aiming to resolve. So in this particular framework, so with this Bayesian network that we are aiming to build in, this is the AI algorithm that we are trying to use. So we will able to have a proactive strategy. So we don't just frame the question and predict the flood will be happening in the next 3 days, 5 days. We have a proactive strategy that we plan ahead of a time. And then we have resources. We equip a better learning environment for the students. And then with that particular strategy, we will reduce the effect of these natural hazards, regardless when it will be happen. So we reframe this particular problem instead of just normal AI solution predicting the next event, next disaster. In the Philippines, we are making sure that we are resilient regardless of the disaster. So, in order to build this particular AI solution, so we leverage not just the tabular data that we are collected from the DOST Pag-asa, the collected data from the DepEd itself, the BS data. So we also leverage some external data that can supplement the performance of this particular model using some Earth observation data, satellite data that able to address some geological hazards, hydrological hazards, and meteorological hazards. And from that, we are able to somehow provide some insights. So as you can see here in this map, so it's province level values for flood risk, high flood risk, and progress of in terms of reading proficiency. You can see here, both are high flood risk for red and green zone, but we highlight red zone as those provinces should have priority in terms of intervention, alternative delivery modes, for example. And green zone, as you can see, they are actually high in terms of flood risk, but they still have high reading proficiency. So with this, we can think of them as they might have better resilience, they have better preparedness measures, and on the side note also, we don't want them to become low reading proficiency in the next years. So we should have a preventive measures to make sure that they won't digress in terms of the performance of the students in the next years. And then, so that's it for the Project Ligtas. So I'll transfer this mic to Eli Bundoc for the next use case that we have.
Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Ako si Eli Bundoc. Tinetest ko lang yung clicker kung paano siya gumagana muna. Or pwedeng i-load na yung presentation ko. Salamat. So habang niloload po nila, yung pangalan ng project is Project Paaral. If I were to summarize yung Paaral as a project, it's just reimagining yung relationships ng ating public schools with private schools. As we are in UP Diliman, there are actually private schools around us. That's Ateneo and Miriam College. And alam natin na yung relationship natin with Ateneo is through UAAP, no? Wag muna tayo mag-isip ng basketball. Isipin natin siya as a relationship between friends. And yun yung gusto namin gawin with Project Paaral. Tinitingnan natin yung relationships ng ating public schools with private schools because there are certain problems that DepEd is currently facing that we could answer by actually pairing our public and private schools. Yung motivation kasi ng DepEd dito is because we have student subsidies where DepEd is trying to leverage government funding so that public school learners could study in private schools. And currently, they have a lot of problems in terms of oversight and project implementation. And how do we actually answer their problems in terms of oversight and program implementation? So first, we collect data. That's basic. Then we leverage open resource tools so that we could transform our public and private schools into a graph network or a network where they are friends or they are peers with one another. And that finally, we could use this network like a calculator or a tool so that we could see and contribute to the discussions on how could we or how might we solve some of the problems that DepEd is facing in terms of administering the subsidy programs. There are a lot of them and I have no time to discuss each and every problem that DepEd is facing. So I'll quickly walk you through how we do it. So first we get the target geography of our target region, but this is Rizal province in Region 4A. Then we get the road network of our target geography using OpenStreetMaps. Malabo lang siya pero meron dyan, nakikita niyo yung gray lines. Then after getting the road network from an open resource tool, we overlay our public and private schools, both in the target geography and the adjacent geographies around Rizal, which is NCR, some of the provinces up in Region 4A, and Laguna at the south side of Rizal. Then, when we have the roads and we have the public school networks, we use the roads to connect them. And actually, we come up with this very busy visualization of a graph network of our schools. So the edges are just actually the road distance of every school to one another. And ang busy, no? Para ano kaya gawin ng ating very, very busy graph network of our public and private schools? So let's come up with a sample observation. Somewhere in the northeast side of Rizal, we have Antipolo City. And we have schools, public schools particularly, that are actually the least connected public schools. And we could actually easily detect and observe that these public schools are actually isolated from one, other public schools, and two, from other private schools. And should DepEd give subsidies to these public schools, there are no private schools that learners from these public schools could go to. And that is one of the importance of actually putting public and private schools in a network so that we know, malapit siya, pwede natin siya puntahan, ay malayo siya, pag-isipan natin kung ano yung alternative solutions that we could do to send our learners to private schools. And let's think of limitless yung possibilities, limitless yung discussions, pero let's focus on two use cases. Let's ask the question, where are our public junior high schools that have access to very limited menu of senior high school offerings? A while ago, I showed you isolation by geography. But let's see isolation by the limited menu of senior high school offerings that students can access. We would see stars, those are public schools, that have green highlights. These are public junior high schools that when learners graduate from them, they do not have private schools or public senior high schools that are nearby them. And that if there are any, wala silang masyadong maraming mapagpipilian, hindi sila maka-ABM, hindi sila maka-gas, hindi sila maka-TVL. So madaming modes of isolation that we could actually use using the graph network that we've created in the center. And another use case, it has always been a discussion about ano ba dapat yung amount ng ating subsidy. So right now, you will see there in the bar plot, the ESC amount or the subsidy amount is currently 9,000 pesos. But if we look at the private schools that public junior high schools can access, if we look at the private schools that public elementary schools can access, yung on average, yung tuition fee ng private schools na malapit sa kanila is 29,930. But what the government actually could provide you or the learners is actually 9,000 pesos only. So learners will actually on average out of pocket 20,000 pesos so that they could study in a private school that they would want to go. So this is actually a question to our government na baka kailangan yung taasan or ano yung other alternative programs or solutions that could fill in the gap between that 9,000 to the average 29,930. And this is possible because we have this calculator, this graph network of schools that we could just shave off, manipulate to our kinding so that we could answer many conversations that DepEd is currently having with subsidies. And that's Project Paaral. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bundoc. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Kasi my generation, it was Eli Buendia. Iba pala yung spelling nun. So, for our discussion is Dr. Rafaelita Aldaba. She is a Emeritus Research Fellow of PIDS, the youngest such person accorded the honor. She is also currently a Senior Advisor to DepEd's ECAIR and the Philippine Qualifications Framework Council Secretariat. She was formerly the Undersecretary for Competitiveness and Innovation at the Department of Trade and Industry and has been a key figure in shaping the Philippines' innovation policy, startup ecosystem, and industry development agenda. Dr. Aldaba holds a PhD in economics from the University of the Philippines School of Economics and brings deep expertise in policy analysis, data analytics, and economic development. So, Dr. Aldaba.
I hope you can put up I have some slides as well, but a very good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be part of this really important event. And yeah, given what we've heard, I think those are really very good presentations providing us with a lot of very useful insights. I'm not sure if there are other policymakers in the room, but they also provide some guidance and direction in terms of what we need to do as we build the AI ecosystem here in the country. And Prof. Jalao, of course, he provided us with a very good one of the foundational elements that we need, and that's AI ethics and principles. And ECAIR actually also developed its own governance and ethics principles, and this will be presented in the afternoon by Erika. And of course, the highlight on AI adoption to promote inclusive growth, social equity, sustainable development, upgrading education, enhancing human capital, innovation, of course, which is really important because as we adopt AI, it's not only to improve our productivity and competitiveness, but at the same time, use it as a tool in order for us to create new products, new services, or new business models. And I think both the presentations made by Prof. Jalao as well as Dr. Ibañez, they're very much aligned in terms of the direction as to how we're shaping and building the AI ecosystem. And of course, this is important as we build the data AI and data economy as well. So the ethical use of AI and promoting responsible AI. So of course, ECAIR that has already been discussed in detail by Prof. Ibañez, along with two very good use cases, Ligtas and Paaral. As mentioned, there are actually a total of six projects that are all at the pilot stages, right? and we can probably share the links so that the audience can also have a look at the other projects, which I think are all equally exciting and very useful. These are not just experiments, but we're really trying to address education issues so as to make our system more efficient. Okay, so as mentioned, I would just want to further emphasize that AI can be used to address development challenges in diverse sectors. And we've heard that through the education use cases that were earlier shared. In agriculture, for instance, this is an important sector where we can adopt AI. It can be a crop whisperer. AI can be a crop whisperer and help farmers improve their productivity. And in healthcare, it can be a doctor's sidekick, actually, assisting professionals and provide effective and efficient services. And in education, I won't elaborate on that because both Prof. Jalao and Dr. Ibañez already discussed the directions as well as the applications of AI in education. But one thing, though, that I'd like to emphasize is the use of AI to help personalized tutoring, customizing therapy, and learning for children with learning disorders, which we're actually doing in one of the projects of ECAIR in depth ed through computer vision, trying to identify children with learning disabilities. And this, of course, before we roll it out, currently all of this the process is being carried out by all the teachers manually, measuring every pupil in the classroom. So this would actually free up a lot of the administrative work and allow and enable our teachers to do other more, of course, academic stuff. And then in finance, it can provide access to formal credit for those that are excluded, as well as in energy and infrastructure. So while AI may not be a panacea for all development challenges that we face, it is an essential tool that can make a significant difference. And I can't actually wait until we're able to roll out the projects fully. So in the next slide, if you could kindly change it. So these are the top industries impacted by AI, specifically for the Philippines. And I'd like to mention, of course, manufacturing, retail and e-commerce, and business process outsourcing. All of these are important contributors to our GDP, to our economy, as well as to employment. And then in the next slide, while of course we've been mentioning about these benefits from AI, but we should acknowledge the fact or recognize the fact that AI can also present risks that we need to carefully manage. The use of AI could lead to bias and discrimination, as well as increased carbon emissions and potential environmental degradations. It uses up really a lot of energy, a lot of power, and even data centers nowadays. Before setting up, that's the reason why they are required to really make use of renewable energy. And then there are also risks from job automation and labor market disruptions. According to IMF, 40% of jobs in emerging markets would be affected, 60% in low-income countries that are exposed to AI, and 60% for advanced countries. And then, of course, the misuse of AI and trust erosion, misinformation, deep fakes, cybercrimes. Of course, we can use AI to interfere with elections, right? And then facilitating fraud and scams. And also, if not properly managed, it could lead to inequality and growing gaps in inclusion, and which could widen inequality, and of course, cybersecurity vulnerability. So given all these risks, it's really important for us to be able to have a robust governance and ethics framework as we adopt AI. And I think that was exhaustively discussed earlier and this afternoon as well. For the next slides, I actually have additional figures, but maybe just the highlights, okay? So based on this report from Microsoft, they noted that AI, the use of generative AI, could increase productive capacity in the country by $79 billion. Next slide. And then with the use of AI, of course, the roles for AI and machine learning specialists, data analysts and scientists, and digital transformation specialists are expected to grow rapidly. And at the same time, of course, many of the clerical or secretarial roles are likely to decline quickly. And in the next slide, we have here a report from the World Economic Forum showing us the fastest growing versus the fastest declining jobs. And among interesting top 10 fastest declining jobs included is legislators and officials. Anyway, I won't expound on that, but I'm sure you can figure that out. And additional statistics, next slide, please, on false information, public opinion manipulation, economic inequality, and destructive AI tools are actually the top AI issues for AI practitioners. And these were shown in a report made by the Harvard Business Review based on a survey, okay? And next slide, please. So additional figures, 85% of people globally are worried about online disinformation. 87% believe the use of AI has actually harmed their country's politics. And then if you look at the bottom chart, there's been a 1,530% increase of deepfake in Asia Pacific and Philippines. As you can see, that's the topmost part of the chart. Philippines has been the highest, meaning we're really vulnerable. Okay, and last two indicators just to show, next please. Just to show to you as well what's happening now in terms of where we are in terms of technology adoption in the manufacturing sector. From this survey, we can highlight that most manufacturing MSMEs have very low to low technology utilization. And in the next slide, current technology use of farmers and MSMEs in coffee and cacao. Our main findings are: number one, only 1 out of 10 farmers utilizes mechanization technologies, and only 4 out of 10 MSMEs are utilizing mechanization technologies. And the top barriers, lack of awareness, lack of knowledge and skills, limited access to finance, high cost of tech adoption. Of course, these are really costly to invest in AI. You need not only the equipment, you need not only the computers, but as well as the data scientists. And poor state of telecommunications, infrastructure and services, and weak linkages within the value chain. So what I would like to for my concluding remarks is how do we use AI to push for or to promote a more inclusive and sustainable growth? I think it's really important for us to focus our efforts towards the use of AI to promote industrial transformation. It can be applied in agriculture, in manufacturing, in electronics, in the creative industries, in education, health, and logistics. And then, of course, the need for us to support our MSMEs, making use of AI as a service platforms, given that it's really very costly. And then for government to put up more innovation hubs, support more centers like ECAIR, and UP also has its own center. And then, of course, we need to invest on the digital infrastructure, workforce upskilling, labor market readiness. Again, AI adoption would demand a more skilled and adaptable, resilient workforce. And lastly, education systems that are needed to be reformed and prepared for the AI era. So certain changes in our curriculum to include AI, teacher training and integration of AI tools in pedagogy, and education data governance to protect learner privacy. So AI is not merely a technological shift, but it is a move towards structural and industrial transformation in the country. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Aldaba. So having just watched Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, the sort of disconnect between the dangers of AI and then, of course, its possible positive impact on people and countries. Although, of course, Dr. Aldaba also highlighted the current pitfalls of AI. Anyway, thanks to our panelists, we have plenty of time for question and answers. So we both have on-site and online participants. So how we will do it is we will get questions first from on-site, maybe 3 questions. And then afterwards, we will get 3 questions online. So if you want to ask a question, so please identify yourself and your affiliation, and then to whom you would like to address your question among our panelists, including our discussant. So let's start. Let's start with you, sir. Is there a mic that we can use? Here.
Yes, I'm former Dean of the Virata School of Business, Joel Antores, and former BIR Commissioner. I'd like to ask, I'm not too sure, but anybody, or there are certain panelists who address this question. No? So anybody can answer. First, use of AI in tax administration. BIR has consulted or has coordinated with the Ateneo and the Computer Science College in developing an AI-enabled tool to help in the screening of the run after fake transactions. So that was done about 2 years ago. I've recently contacted them. The first version of this AI-enabled tool to screen potential cases of fake transactions did not fare out well. I asked my friends in the BIR, perhaps you should go to UP. No. Okay. It was mentioned UP is developing, in fact, I know this, there are at least 3 colleges doing AI or data analytics programs. When I was dean, I wanted to also develop a program on business analytics, but I mean, it's complicated. I mean, the professors here would know it would take some time to develop such. Okay, going back to my question. Am I right, or, and this is also in line with what was mentioned, that perhaps schools can collaborate, no, public and private schools, UP, perhaps Ateneo, in this endeavor of coming up with an AI-enabled, say, tool or application that the BIR can resort to to assist their tax enforcement efforts. And I'd add just an additional info, AI-enabled tools have been used, of course, in other countries, but the success or the experience here are not so good, especially what happened just about 2 years ago, Netherlands, they used AI to screen, I think, tax benefits recipients. It was a nightmare. No? It discriminated, and there were a lot of beneficiaries that were not included in the screening. So my question, collaboration, UP, private school, and the use of tools effectively in tax administration, considering, again, the possible disruptions or as what happened in Netherlands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So maybe to give our panelists time to think of an answer, let's collect 2 more questions. Sir Babes?
Okay, I have a series of questions. One is for Professor Jalao. So the question, at the personal level, when people decide which AI output is useful or not, how can you safeguard against bias? At the industry level, there's this question about whether we should leave AI development to the private sector, where private motive is the driving force, which means that maybe societal objectives like equity and sustainability will be second fiddle. So that's for the first set of questions. The second, very interested, I'm very happy to see use cases in ECAIR. So one of the things that springs to mind, being this is the space that I work, is the the Ligtas app. Is there already an attached learning modality per hazard? Because the objective is not to know the hazard, but to continue learning given the hazard. So maybe the next, I don't know if you've already identified that. If there's a flood, what should be learned modality? If there is no current, what does it learn modality? So basically, I think that should be you should find just so that learning can continue despite the hazard. That's actually the problem of hazards. That pag may tapos pag may bagyo, wala nang eskwela, parang ganun. We should strive to have that. And the other on the school net. One other thing that maybe I don't know if you have the app for. We have nearly 1 million teachers, and the problem has always been, like, for example, yesterday there was a discussion about matching. There's a localization law. There's the mismatch between specialization of teachers and all of that. So and there's no, like, one of the results was that some of the local universities are producing English and Filipino teachers when what the area need is science teachers. So is there an app that can tell us that what does DepEd as the major consumer of teachers need in terms of specialization, the type of teachers, and what are the schools are actually So basically, the facilitates the communications between the teaching institutions, TEIs, and the major consumers is DepEd, so that we can have a better matching of production teachers as well as youth.
Okay. So maybe that's enough questions for now, and we can give our panelists the time to answer.
Yeah, maybe I can talk about the tax administration application now. I think short answer is definitely. Like you can always find a use for AI in whatever domain. Tax application, in particular, trying to use it for anomaly detection, fraud analysis, forensic analytics, those types of things. I think it's definitely possible. I think the challenge though is, like you mentioned, certain AI projects, AI innovation projects, they fail, right? And I think it's unfortunate that we don't really get to hear from people like why projects fail. Right? I think that's one of the challenges. People don't really like broadcasting like their failure, right? Even though there's a lot of opportunities to learn like why a project like that would not work, right? So I'll sort of like speculate a bit about like why projects like this would fail. And I think it should be, some of it is fairly intuitive, right? When you think about like tax administration, and in particular, trying to find anomalies with people paying taxes, it can be very political, right? So AI as a technology, it's a very data hungry technology. And so you can imagine that the project begins by, so what kind of data can you share with us? And then you can think of the bureaucracy or the politics behind that. If I'm a commissioner or deputy commissioner, there are people, or let's say UP or researchers that want access to our data. It can be very sensitive, right? Because there can be a lot of corruption happening, and suddenly exposing your data can suddenly become like a very hot topic, right? And so that's one possibility about why projects like this would fail, right? There's a wall, and there can be all sorts of like legislative, bureaucratic, process reasons why we can't share our data because it will violate data privacy, et cetera, et cetera. Right, so that's one of the reasons why it'll fail, and that's actually something that we come up against as the center works with DepEd. The reality is that there are people in positions that they have their own jobs, they have their own incentive structures, and trying to fit AI into their workflow is not easy, right? AI is not just a technology problem. It is, in fact, most of it is a people problem. Trying to change minds, trying to get the buy-in from people. That's actually what we spend a lot of our time doing, right? As scientists, as researchers, as engineers, you would think that we would spend most of our time coding, when in fact it's really like talking to people. That's one. Trying to convince people like, hey, we're here to work for you. We're here to solve your problems. Meet us halfway, right? So maybe to give a bit of perspective about like why projects like that would fail. Now, whether or not partnerships can happen, definitely. People in academia, in industry, they're always looking for opportunities to work together. So that would be my answer to the tax administration question.
Okay. Dr. Jalao.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Orbeta, for the question. So whenever we build models, we have to go through what we call model evaluation. So model evaluation is where we measure the accuracy, the precision, and other KPIs that are deemed important. One of them is bias, right? So whenever we run this model and the output is biased in nature, then we have to fine-tune the model such that it will be unbiased, right? So it's part of the life cycle of the development of any AI model, is that you have to continuously monitor the output of the AI model such that all of the KPIs that are very important to you are met. So that's part of the design and the self-regulation, basically, that academe, industry, or anyone building models should have, right? They should have the ethical framework to come up with unbiased models, accurate models that are solving whatever business case that you have. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the first model is the one that you deploy, because it might be, as you see, faulty, right? It is again prudent for the developer of that model to really make sure that the output of any AI model is valid forever what use case is it. So it's really part of the skills that we do when we train our students. So we have to have model evaluation and, of course, have to measure the correct KPI for that purpose. Thank you po.
I think Dr. Orbeta had questions on whether there's any modality attached to, for example, specific hazards. And also another one on can AI be used to address mismatches between what we graduate and what the school needs?
The answer to the question, if we identify, I guess, what particular hazard is associated to learning outcome. So we haven't touched on that particular part because we are actually the initial phase of this particular project. But actually, we want to analyze that part, but in a more bigger picture, because each hazard, we can consider it actually as a cascade of disaster. This is actually the term that we use in our academic lab, that each of the natural hazards can trigger another hazard. For example, earthquake can produce another landslide, for example, or a typhoon, flood, and rain-induced landslide can trigger. So those are some factors that we can consider, and it's really a complex, but in general, we are happy to collaborate po, in terms of refining, and maybe you can provide po, another insight in our modeling intervention.
Maybe just to add to that, that discussion though, about what is the appropriate modality. I think a bit bigger picture. That's actually what the group that we're working with at DepEd, that's actually what they want to ask. So they have the question, if this is the natural hazard, what should we do about it, right? So that's like an intervention question. So the project starts with, well, that's the question that you want to ask. What data do you have? So that's actually where we start. And we're at the phase where we're actually collecting all of the data that they have internally. That's one. We're also looking at data outside to see like how can we connect. And Joma earlier showed like some of the Earth observational data that we were looking at and then putting them together. I think where the rubber meets the road is, turns out that usually to answer these sorts of questions, you don't have the data one-to-one, right, to answer. So we have to get creative, and that's where the research part comes in, but like how we answer these questions. So right now we're still at that data preparation stage. We've done some basic data exploration and analysis, looking at outcomes at least first, and natural hazards. Now relating that to modality, so that's actually a good question. One of the questions that we would ask DepEd is, do you actually collect modality, like if this happened, what modality were you using at the time, at a granular, clean, tabular level? Short answer is no. So they don't collect that data. But essentially, if you want to use AI or analytics, you kind of have to have that data, right? So this is where the research part comes in and the creativity part comes in. So it's still a work in progress, but that is definitely something that they want to answer.
Yeah, just to add as well on the point raised by Dr. Orbeta on safeguarding against bias. I think what we're doing right now is really utilizing data-driven intelligence, and hence it's really for AI to be able to make full use of its power and prevent potential pitfalls and biases. We need to collect better data accurately, inclusively, contextually, and at the same time, smarter data use must be enforced, because when used responsibly, data really becomes a tool not just for precision but for fairness. And I think the tax fraud question a while ago, that's really interesting. And AI, if only we will be able to combine together various data sets coming from banks, for instance, bank records, property registries, e-commerce platforms, including the social media posts. I think by data matching, third-party integration, we'll really be able to catch tax, evaders and those that are under declaring their assets or even have hidden assets. But the question, I think, is will the different government agencies share all this information?
Okay. So maybe time to move on to our online participants.
Oh, yes, sir. So there are some questions here from our online participants. So let me just read one of those from from one of our attendees from Zoom, and it's from Mir Garganera, UNDP-PH via Zoom. The question is, I think, addressed to anyone from the panel. On AI regulation or legislation, is it more practical to enact sectoral legislations in a vertical model, like AI policy on education, or an encompassing legislation on AI, horizontal, applicable to all sectors, similar to the European Unions? So that is the question.
Maybe two more questions.
Oh, okay. Now, another question here is from an anonymous attendee. Are there steps by the CHED, by the DepEd CHED or other education agencies or organization to include AI in the curriculum to teach students about the proper use of AI in their studies? Additionally, I know it is difficult to create policies to regulate AI, but what are universities in particular doing to regulate or control the use of AI among their students? And lastly, we have here a question directed to Project Ligtas, and it's from an anonymous attendee from Zoom. On Project Ligtas, Microsoft launched Aurora last year, a foundation model designed for predicting weather patterns. How might we leverage this tech to enhance advanced decision-making for school operations, particularly in determining the scheduling and transitions between synchronous and asynchronous classes during the Bagyo season? So those are the three questions from our online participants. So the floor is yours.
Maybe the one first on horizontal or vertical.
Yes. So I'm a firm believer that we don't need additional laws to regulate AI. All right. AI is yet another technology that come and goes, and it has its pitfalls, it has its dark side, but it has its good side. Okay. Too much regulation will stifle innovation. Right. You basically seen that as an effect in the EU that they want all AI developers to register their research. How is that even going to be implemented? So we firmly believe that basic ethical guidelines for the use of AI is already sufficient, because when the internet came, when calculators came, there was no hype that we might be obsolete. Engineers might be obsolete because of the use of spreadsheets, of the use of calculators. No, it's simply a new technology that we can use to better our lives, and it's not meant to replace anyone. But you can be replaced by someone who knows AI. But my point here is that over-regulation, coming up with laws to again control the development of AI is really not productive. The things that we need to discuss is what are the intellectual property laws that might be obsolete due to these new technologies. Those things need to be, because the creative sector might be affected. Industries are affected to this, but too much, again, regulation and frameworks is not needed. So again, bring back to the example of UP. UP does not prohibit the use of AI. Okay, it's up to the instructor and its academic freedom to choose how to use AI, or even to if it's up to the instructor, it's up to the instructor. But UP does not say that you should not use AI in your academic life. Okay, you should be responsible to use AI. So that's the basic framework that we are working on. It's not to regulate our students on the use of AI, but to encourage ethical use of AI. As any other technology, calculators, the internet, dati we use card catalog. Ngayon, we have the internet to search for information.
Since, I'd like to just add on to what has already been said. Based on experience, I think it's important. The question should not be either or, but it has to be a hybrid approach, both horizontal and vertical. All the industries have distinct characteristics, and hence the application should differ based on the characteristics, peculiarities of the different industries we're dealing with. But in terms of horizontal, like the AI principles, governance should apply across all the different sectors. Competition, for example. If there are no competition rules that would handle competition cases, such as monopolies, oligopolies, which can naturally grow if there are no regulations in place. And in fact, we're already seeing some examples. There are platforms utilizing AI, and these are being used by certain entities that have access to those platforms, and they collude based on the price determined by a certain platform. And this is common practice in the hotel industry, for example, or even in the apps, Uber, in the transportation sector. So at the end of the day, of course, we also need to protect our consumers. We need to promote competition, and without the necessary regulations, it will not be equitable. It won't be that the adoption of AI won't be inclusive. What about our micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises? So, like what I've said, a hybrid, but we need. I know it's a difficult task because a lot of balancing would have to be done. There's regulation, competition, innovation. So all these things we need to take into account.
Yes, I'd like to answer what DepEd, CHED, and TESDA is doing in terms of the AI policy landscape. So in DepEd, we know this is happening because we're inside. And right now, currently, there are certain strands or there are certain departments inside the Department of Education who are writing their own AI use policies. So that's actually step one, because it should be DepEd Central Office who is the exemplar, and that once they are a good exemplar, they could cascade their AI use policy downwards towards the regional offices up until the school level. For CHED really values academic freedom, so usually CHED would defer to the tertiary education institutions to create or ideate their own AI policies. But personally, I'd like to see a horizontal AI ethics use principle that would come from the Commission on Higher Education. And for TESDA is currently also undergoing a lot of AI use case, and most likely they will also have to publish an ethical use case policy, especially since that TESDA is building their own a similar center who's creating innovations for the delivery of TESDA courses, recommender systems for users to use their platform, so on and so forth. So let's give merit to these agencies who's trying to use AI already, and their use of AI, they have to see that roadblock, overcome that roadblock, that they have to be good exemplars in the ethical use of AI.
Maybe the question on Ligtas.
For the audience that asked for the Microsoft Aurora for the Project Ligtas. So actually, we actually exploring the Microsoft Aurora, not just Microsoft Aurora model, but also the Google Graphcast, Forecast, and also the Huawei's model, Pangu Weather. So those are the open source models by the big corporations that we can leverage in our different AI use cases. But one big challenge actually in using those are they are low res. So one grid of their forecast temperature, for example, precipitation, covering the whole Luzon Island. So it's one of the challenges of those particular models. But in our research perspective, we can fine-tune those particular model for the Philippines, and we can use it for the hazard forecasting, for example, for the school resilience. Yeah.
Okay, maybe a last set of questions on site. Sure.
Good morning. This is as regards governance and regulation to specific on participatory governance and inclusive regulation. From the point of view that he is materialist, that's our foundational ontology, and AI mediates the epistemic procedure such that the axiology or the prevailing value by then would be professionalized and democratized responsibility and accountability with a view to defensible wealth distribution and reasonable income redistribution. Any insights?
Sir, sorry, can you please identify yourself for recording purposes?
Priorly, I was research scientist at the Asian Institute of Technology in Bangkok, University Fellow at the University of New South Wales in Sydney.
So insights about developing policy.
Is specific on the possibility that AI will mediate the realization of state enterprise that is impersonal and participatory.
I think that's a little bit beyond our expertise, our field of expertise, like how it would. But definitely the position of the government is to essentially treat AI as a tool. That's number one. And it's a tool that we can use. I'll just answer from my perspective. It's a tool that we can use to, like I mentioned, leapfrog a lot of our resource constraints, right? We have a lot of problems, and we would like to use these tools to short circuit, right, a lot of the solutions to these problems. Whether or not that will happen, or if it would happen, we could only speculate. But definitely, in order for that to happen, some level of grander coordination needs to happen from the government, right? And I think that's actually one of the challenges. It's difficult to get different parts of the government to cooperate with each other. So, yeah, it would be speculation about whether or not that would happen.
I think Governor Aldaba wants to say something.
Yes, I think that AI, of course, holds the promise of democratizing access to knowledge, to services, and opportunities. If the government, of course, is able to build and create a robust AI ecosystem and support all of those requirements that are needed in order for us to promote a more inclusive and ethical and responsible use of AI. And of course, in education, in governance, in healthcare, and economic participation, AI can level the playing field. We can reduce barriers to access and empower underserved populations.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Angelo Santiago from UP Law Center. I wanted to ask about integration of efforts. We're seeing pockets of initiatives, for example, in the UP side. So we have the UP AI program. Earlier, the si Dean up front mentioned na there are at least 3 colleges dealing with data science analytics. I know for a fact that the UP School of Library Information Science Studies, they've offered a course on data ethics. UP College of Law has its own elective on law and society focusing on data and AI. So I'm wondering if there's any consolidation of efforts in the UP side and maybe hopefully in the national side also, because I'm sure from the past years, months, years, there are several movements across the agency. So especially since it was mentioned earlier that AI cuts across disciplines. So right now we're seeing use cases in education. But it would be nice to there was also mentioned earlier about intellectual property issues, and I'm pretty certain it's not pretty much threshed out in the Philippine setting. We have people in the College of Law who can talk about it. And yet, at least from our side, the discussions, nahihirapan kami makalabas to the general public, maybe because the efforts are not that much integrative. Kumbaga, it's baka from my observation, it may be siloed pa rin to certain groups. So it could be a rhetorical question. I don't know if you want to answer, but my call is let's please have an integrated approach to AI. I know we have that in mind, no? But insofar as we at the College of Law are concerned, we are very open to partnering up to help bring the legal side into the discussions on AI para may balance din po. Yun lang po. Salamat.
Okay. So before you answer, I'd just like to add one question, and this will be the last set of questions. Is there any attempt to systematically evaluate the impact of those programs that uses AI in terms of, for example, learning outcomes? Sige.
Okay. So first off, the UP system is actively pushing the AI program forward. Okay, so we have been collaborating with other universities in Cebu and in Davao in really spreading the program. We'll be collaborating with the National Engineering Center to even to offer AI training programs. Okay? It's already forthcoming, right? So in essence, there is really a concerted effort for the entire UP system to have a one AI policy. Basically, we already have the AI Horizons team that's been pushing for showcasing the AI applications being done across not just in Diliman but for LB, Manila, for health sciences and LB. So there is really a push for really making AI mainstream as one of the programs to South Africa, right? So in terms of evaluation, the work that the AI system, the UP System AI Committee is focused really on developing the academic frameworks first, then saka na yung evaluation. Because for now, we are still evaluating the performance of our students. We already have AI in our midst, and what other policies are needed to support the learning of our students as well as the faculty. Okay? Having faculty use AI to generate their lesson plan is really a good level up, basically, to speed up their admin processes. So there are initiatives that UP is going. But in terms of the national government, that's a different story. So maybe Dr. Aldaba can help us with that.
I know we have very little time left, but just to share several actions we've seen. One is by the Civil Service Commission and DICT. They're both working together in coming up with a governance framework. But it's only for government agencies, but the private sector is also moving. The IBPAP, that's the IT-BPM business group, given that they're also in the process of strongly adopting AI, so they came up with their own framework as well. And very recently, the president has already approved the National AI Strategy Roadmap. This was last May 25. And the different government agencies have been tasked to carry out the strategies and goals of the roadmap. And lastly, I think there was a point made about IP, just like our competition laws, which was passed before Chat GPT. There's got to be some changes and amendments needed to be pursued in order for us to include regulations and positions with respect to how to handle AI, manage AI-related cases, competition issues, and the position, for example, of we have the Intellectual Property Office, and I just asked them during the weekend what the position is with respect to the use of AI among our creatives, and there's still no formal position. So it's really like what to do if a work is being that you named after yourself, but is actually from AI or AI generated. Still don't have those rules or provisions in the law. So we really need to do a lot of work in terms of building the AI ecosystem.
Okay, very quickly lang. Yung question on evaluation of the projects you have in.
So for Project Ligtas, actually, it's hard to answer that particular question on evaluation of the learning outcomes. But to measure it, I think we frame our project into a phase. So the initial phase is developing the model, and then the succeeding phases is to craft the policies and to test out if the actions by our stakeholders are being effective in terms of mitigating the risk for the degrading reading proficiency, for example.
Then for Paaral, currently, learning outcomes isn't a part of its grading criteria, meaning Paaral is really a tool to allow our stakeholders in DepEd to talk about subsidies in a data-informed manner. So the more the conversations that spur out from the tool, that's a key success indicator for us.
Okay. So with that, we will close the session. So thank you very much to our panelists, Dr. Jalao, Dr. Ibañez, Mr. Muñoz, Mr. Bundoc, and Dr. Aldaba. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much to our panelists po, no? Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for joining us for today's symposium on AI for a Sustainable Tomorrow, Policy Innovations for APEC and the Philippines. This afternoon, we continue our discussions with deeper dives into emerging strategies, challenges, and collaborations that will help shape ethical and impactful AI policies across the region. Once again, I'd like to invite our online participants to please don't forget to join the online discussion by using our official hashtags. Hashtag PIDS PASCN x UP, hashtag AI for Sustainable Tomorrow, and hashtag Responsible AI. To lead us into our second panel discussion, we are honored to welcome our moderator, Dr. Francis Mark A. Kimba. Dr. Kimba, a senior research fellow at PIDS and director of PASCN, focuses on innovation in local firms, trade, and rural development. With advanced degrees in development economics from Japan, He contributes to policy discussion on trade, industry, and e-commerce, supporting inclusive growth through research and international collaboration. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, Dr. Kimba, with a round of applause.
Thank you, Larry. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have a great lunch, enough to power us through the next panel. So I'm honored to moderate this second panel discussion titled Towards Inclusive AI Development, Higher Education and Policy Perspectives from the Philippines and APEC. So earlier this morning, we heard about how AI is being used in different types of use cases and the progress that's being done in ECAIR. No? So in this session, we'll build on what we talked about this morning, and we will explore how inclusive approaches to AI can be shaped through the lenses of education systems, policy making, and cross-border collaboration. As AI continues to evolve, it's critical that institutions of higher learning and policymakers work together to ensure that development is not only innovative, but also ethical, equitable, and responsive to the diverse needs of our region. We are joined by a distinguished set of speakers who will each bring perspectives rooted in experience, research, and leadership. After their presentations, we'll have time for an open forum where we invite your questions and reflections. So let me begin by welcoming our first panelist. He is Dr. Percival F. Almoro, a physics professor at UP Diliman, specializing in holography and has held postdoctoral fellowships in Japan, Denmark, and Germany. A senior member of Optica and editor for scientific journals, he promotes research mentoring and interdisciplinary innovation. He now serves as UP System Assistant VP for Academic Affairs Research. Dr. Almoro, you may now take the floor.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Aaron. So I'll be sharing one of our initiatives related to research and interdisciplinary collaboration and AI. Of course, from my perspective, my background is I'm the one of the senior members of the photonics group. So anything about light is our forte. All right. So next slide. So I promise I can connect this to AI. But we will have a review of our high school physics. Okay. And then we will try to reflect on it and then try to how we can use it in your own respective areas, social science, economics, okay, arts. So we will have a activity all within 10 minutes. So first, I'll describe two concepts, dalawa lang naman, and then 4 applications. And then we will go to the activity. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what is scattering? So 2 effects, scattering, and then the other one. So scattering, we have some visualization of what scattering is. So of course, physics is not physics without demonstration, di ba? So for example, this is laser pointer. So we cannot see light until it hits the wall, right? Now, at the wall, there's that scattering, got scattered. Therefore, we see it. Of course, we're familiar with when light is scattered by powder, diba? So this is scattering. Otherwise, it will go into the energy will be towards that direction. But now you can see it because it got scattered, redirected in all directions. So yun. What is scattering in Filipino? Ikalat, di ba? Intuitive siya. So hindi natin ginagamit yung ikalat, yung liwanag. Minsan ginagamit. But otherwise, madali siyang intindihan pag ginamit natin yung word na ikalat. Alright, next slide. Enter. Now, take note, scattering is a general effect. When light interacts with material, it gets scattered. Now, in certain situations, when it is scattered in a well-behaved manner, like this one, we call it reflection. It got scattered in the same in a general direction. Reflection, di ba? So yeah. So far so good. Okay, next. Okay. The second and the final optical effect is absorption. So absorption is the when material transforms an incident light in two scenarios. When the light is dissipated as heat, and then the other one, when it is transformed into another color, which we call fluorescence. Okay. I brought something. Now I cannot find it. Just imagine, no? So, for example, you have a material that when illuminated by this blue light, then you can imagine if it's fluorescent, then it glows. Okay, so the glowing happens because there is a purple light, an ultraviolet. Okay, so that is a maybe more or less intuitive manifestation of absorption. All right. The other one is when it's dissipated completely. So an object otherwise illuminated, but when it's illuminated by a certain color, then it appears black because all the light is dissipated into heat. Now, what is absorption in Filipino? Dr. Orbeta. No? Anybody? Absorb. So the mechanism is there is a transformation, conversion of energy into something you cannot recover. So hindi talaga siya nag-ugat sa ating wika. But we can use sinipsip. Okay. So that's the closest maybe we can. So again, scattering at saka absorption. Those are the two fundamental effects. Everything can be explained in terms of those two. Okay, next slide. Okay, now in a collection of contraptions, we can use these optical effects to observe nature. Okay, now imaging. I just brought some homemade DIY. So this is from Hidalgo. So this is around 5,000. Mura na ngayon ng DSLR, but this is modified. So modified in a way that an ordinary camera can see what the human vision can see. It mimics the human. But this is special because the filter attached to the sensor was removed. So now this can see from infrared to visible to ultraviolet. Okay, so far so good. Now, if it can see everything, then you cannot decouple what information it takes in. So we need to put some filters. So example, this filter, when we put it at the front, can only see infrared. It only allows infrared in. Okay, so when it allows only certain wavelength, then this camera coupled with this becomes an infrared camera. Okay, this is a visible filter. When it is coupled to this one, this becomes restored. This is again restored to an ordinary camera because this is visible. So that's the idea. Of course, there's a UV filter. Okay, next. So the idea is we have a system now with a modified camera, a cut filter, pass filter, and a special source. A source can be pure infrared, pure visible, or UV. Okay, so next slide. So we applied this technique to investigate frogs. Right? So when we illuminate the frog with UV light shown on the left, so under UV light and a UV camera, that is how the frog looks like, totally black. So there's maybe some evolutionary explanation. And then at the middle, what our human eyes can see, and on the right, you have the infrared image. So what's the prominent feature in the infrared image? We can see the eyeball. Okay, so we know that there is a eye cover, eyelid, but the infrared can penetrate the thin eyelid. Okay, so the information can be related to the imaging system used. All right, next slide. Okay, on this slide, so we had a collaboration with my former student from dentist. Okay. So may drill. So the idea is orthodontic siya, so braces. So instead of gluing some metals, they are using composite or pasta. And then they anchor the brace doon sa composite. Now, after the treatment, the composite needs to be removed. After this day and age, they use tactile technique, kapaan. Kinakapaan nila if there are still composites left. So here, with this technique, shown on the left, you can see the composite using a UV camera. So now the dentist can see in the ultraviolet. Otherwise, kapaan siya. Parang bulag sila, di ba? Tinidrill nila. So merong iatrogenic effect. Pwedeng ma-damage. All right, next slide. All right. So this is the last application. So we use UV visible infrared imaging to see the health of rice. Okay, so this on the left, see this is the UV image. So they basically look the same. So the four settings are yung control, and then yung second and third, not the proper combination of NPK fertilizer. Now on the right is the correct ratio. Now in the visible, more or less they look the same. Infrared, they look the same. But, next slide, next, enter. When we use some image subtraction, the difference between UV and infrared can differentiate the health of the plant. So we can use this technique to see the salient difference in the in plants. Okay, next slide. Now this is in dermatology. So sunscreens are not cheap, di ba? It goes for example yung papaya likha, mga 100 pesos lang. Pero yung mga branded can go up to 5,000. But we don't know if they work. So with this technique, we can show on the left different formulations under a UV imaging system can readily show if the sunscreen works. So if it's light, then it allows light to reach your skin, so it's not working. But if it's totally black, then it works. So we can see that the gradient indicating that what brands work and what don't. Right. Okay, actually my time is up. But anyway, I'll describe what we're supposed to have for the last. So the idea is that what I've shown is application of UV imaging. And I try to reach out to my friends. Okay, so over the past 4 to 5 years, I came up with around 4 studies, 4 years. Okay, now the idea is that a technique can be useful if it's applied in a different discipline, diba? Okay, so in this diagram, we see that in the academe, we have a tendency for academicism, meaning as long as there is a paper in the end, then we tap our back, then we're good. Okay, so the output is a paper. What's important is it must have impact in the community. And to do that, you need to have interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary. All right, next slide. So this, just to, what I've done so far, basically multidisciplinary. I bring my technique to dentistry, and then maybe we have some insight, but really not integrated. Okay. So what we want will be inter and transdisciplinary. Okay, next. Okay. So in the university, specifically in UP, research by faculty and reps are done individually, by and large, let's say 95%. So we are very good at what we're doing individually. Okay. Now, alternatively is perhaps we can implement our research, but in research programs. Not very clear here, but just to show that in the university, we have around 300 research programs. So how do we leverage these research programs so that multi-wavelength imaging maybe can be used by the other researchers? Imagine I have, in 4 years, I was very excited and I was able to do some experiment in 4 fields. But these are 300 programs. And each program, there are many researchers. So if they can access what I'm doing, I can access what they're doing, then maybe multi-wavelength imaging can be more useful. Okay, next slide. Now, the type of collaboration, okay, in those research programs I mentioned, I just picked one, and each program has 6 to 8 thematic areas. Okay, and then I plug in sa ChatGPT, multi-wavelength imaging, and those topics. So generate possible areas of collaboration and innovation. And then these are this is how she responded. So there are around 10 options. So for example, in this 5, mapping moisture migration using multi-wavelength imaging. So instantly, so this group is from the College of Forestry. So at least from the title, maybe my technique can be used in forestry. Okay. In few seconds, lumabas agad yung prospect for collaboration in one group alone. And there are 300 or let's say 500 groups. All right. Meron pa ba? So i-describe ko na lang yung activity sana natin. Okay, so the idea is that we experience in this session collaborative mentoring through collective ideation. So the idea is within your nearest neighbor, you talk about how you will use multi-wavelength imaging. So everyone has their own areas of interest. And how do you see multi-wavelength imaging? Okay, and then you're supposed to type them in Mentimeter. And then you will vote on others' proposed titles. Okay, so my point is this was generated in a few seconds, so yung AI titles. But the ones that you will generate with peers is more organic. Kasi yung what titles you can come up with is based on your own interest. And therefore, that highlights the importance of, we can use AI maybe to see the big picture, and then maybe that's a good starting point for collaboration. But ultimately, it's really the personal connection and the network that has a greater chance of prospering. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Almo. That's fascinating. So we can see how light can be used for different disciplines and different applications. And we learned 2 new concepts in Tagalog as well, kinalat and sinipsip. So for the next presentation, joining us via Zoom recorded video is Dr. Erika Fille Legara, and allow me to introduce her. Dr. Legara is the Managing Director and Chief AI and Data Officer of DepEd's ECAIR, with experience in advising Singapore and the Philippines on AI governance. A board member, educator, and certified AI governance expert, she launched the Philippines' first formal AI graduate program and leads AI-driven transformation across sectors and organizations. So I invite everyone to welcome Dr. Legara and watch the video.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Erika Legara, and today I'll walk you through how we at the Education Center for AI Research are operationalizing responsible AI development, what that actually means, and how it differs from simply declaring values and principles or drafting a framework. I'll share in the next 9 minutes how we balance risk, deliver value, and enforce accountability in the systems that we build. We already know this, that the national landscape is evolving, and it's evolving really fast. The president's statement at the ASEAN summit and Secretary Angara, DepEd's launch of its Center for AI Research highlight this urgency of using AI for meaningful reform. But of course, momentum must be matched with discipline. We need systems that translate intention into real safeguards and outcomes. So let's start with this question. What is AI governance? What does it actually mean? Well, AI governance is the system an organization uses to oversee the development and use of AI across its entire development lifecycle. That includes how AI is planned, designed, built, tested, deployed, monitored, and maybe even eventually retired. It covers structures, policies, roles, and processes that ensure that our AI system is safe, it's aligned with legal requirements, and that it is ethically sound. Now, with that foundation, I want to make an important distinction because people often confuse governance with other related concepts. They mix it up with AI principles or governance frameworks. But those are different. Principles, they tell us what we value. Frameworks, on the other hand, help us organize those values into structure or a blueprint. And governance is the actual practice. It's about turning those ideas into day-to-day decision-making, oversight, and accountability. And this is where things tend to fall short, unfortunately. I've seen organizations that list beautiful values and principles like fairness, accountability, transparency, and then just stop there. But defining principles doesn't mean you're governing. Governance begins where those principles actually leave off. It's about setting clear policies, as mentioned earlier, assigning responsibility, and enforcing what you say you believe in. Otherwise, it's all academic. It's just theory. And when there's no follow through, we risk falling into what we call ethics washing or ethics theater. That's when you say you're ethical without doing the real work. And if you're not reviewing risks or documenting decisions or holding anyone accountable, those values don't really mean much. So good governance lives in the details. So the policy reviews, the controls, the documentation, and not in posters or in presentations like this one. So take, for example, fairness. What do we mean when we say we value fairness? Because we need to define it. We need to identify how we measure fairness, like through bias detection, and we need to assign people to be responsible for that work. In organizations that have truly made their AIGS or AI governance frameworks operational, fairness is metrics, methods, and oversight. So why does this all matter again? Well, without governance, AI exposes people to very real harm: discrimination, misinformation, exclusion. Trust can collapse. Responsible governance is critical for innovation to be trustworthy, to be legitimate, especially in public sector projects like what we do at ECAIR. It's about alignment with the law, with the public interest, and with the expectations of our stakeholders. So where to begin? It ought to start with translating values into policies that are enforceable. That means building in documentation, oversight, and technical infra. Without that scaffolding, principles don't guide decisions. They're just out there floating. Our governance is built to anchor those values to everyday practice. So what are the key components? So they rely on internal structures like the roles. There has to be clear roles. You could have committees, boards, then there's human oversight in the decision-making process. There are monitoring mechanisms and communication channels for feedback, for transparency. And all these must translate into documented reviews. There has to be checkpoints, version control, technical documentation, and of course, stakeholder engagement. And I'm going to concretize that in the next few slides. But we have to remember that every part of the development process is tied to governance. So yeah, at this point, let me share a bit about ECAIR's AI governance framework. So our model is built around 4 key objectives: enabling responsible innovation that serves the public, ensuring both technical and ethical rigor, establishing internal accountability systems, and maintaining trust with stakeholders. Now, this continuously evolving, I must emphasize on that, evolving framework now serves as our institutional guide, aligned with international standards, guiding every decision for evaluating trade-offs and risks. Now, this, as you saw in the first 2 slides, advances President Marcos' call for ethical, human-centric AI, as he emphasized during the ASEAN summit. Now, at ECAIR, our approach follows a 3-tiered model. The first line of defense, which is our tactical layer, that's our developers and data scientists. They own the daily compliance. Then the second line, which is our risk and compliance layer, that's our governance focal points. They review all the documentation, they review the risks. Then finally, our third line, which is the strategic governance layer, our AI Governance Council. We handle elevated risks and make final decisions on truly complex AI projects, those that are classified as high impact, but also high risk projects. Now, within the team, we have a certified AI governance professional, 2 formally trained AI governance professionals, and a broader culture of internal review and discussion. So for example, before we made the AIGF operational, all ECAIR members reviewed and commented on it. The policies we adopt are designed to be enforceable, specific, and of course, realistic. And finally, our projects are shaped by our stakeholders and our sponsors. So we don't just create these tools in isolation. We are tasked to solve the problems. We are tasked to build the tools, the solutions, and that means value delivery is our top priority. But again, we're talking about AI, we're talking about technology. Every tool carries risk. So governance for us as well is a matter of calibrating controls that's proportionate to risk. while never stalling the value we're supposed to actually create. So that balance, of course, is hard, but it's at the heart of what we do. Thank you very much, and thank you, PIDS and UP, for having us today. And of course, before I close, I also would like to share one of our most recent work on AI regulations. It's on SSRN, titled Leveraging Existing Legal Authority to Guide AI Development. Maraming salamat po, and magandang hapon sa lahat.
Thank you, Dr. Legara, for the presentation. And it's very interesting to hear how principles get translated to governance. Our third speaker for this panel is Mr. Marcos Angelo A.S. Punsalang, and allow me to introduce him. Marcos Angelo A.S. Punsalang is the Director General of the Philippines APEC National Secretariat and Chief of Mission at the Department of Foreign Affairs. With extensive diplomatic experience across multiple countries and multilateral fora, he supports international economic relations. He holds a UP degree in Philippine Studies and was trained at the Foreign Service Institute. Everyone, let's welcome Mr. Punsalang.
Thank you, everybody. I would like to thank the Philippine APEC Study Center, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, and the University of the Philippines, my old alma mater, for organizing today's symposium. It is wonderful to be back in UP Diliman, and I'm equally delighted to be here to share insights on the role that the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, otherwise known as APEC, to all of you, is playing given the accelerating adoption of artificial intelligence across various sectors. Many pundits have used the words unprecedented and revolutionary to describe the creation of AI. I know the words have been overused, but I believe that in this instance, they are appropriate. AI has been described as an agent and not just a tool. By way of an example, a printing press was a tool that made information more accessible and widespread. But it just printed the words that were written by human beings. AI, on the other hand, is not a tool, but an agent, since it has the power to author and generate its own books, music, or content. It is indeed a revolutionary field that affects every aspect of our lives with vast economic potential, which, if harnessed optimally, can be instrumental in achieving APEC's goal of prosperity of all our people and future generations. This afternoon, I will share with you APEC's response to AI and how it's seeking to use AI as a transformative force to strengthen economic vitality, create new drivers of growth, and foster innovative solutions for shared regional challenges, including environmental vulnerabilities, demographic change, food security, disaster resilience, and digital connectivity. Next slide, please. Discourse on AI within APEC's various working groups is firmly rooted in the values, principles, and commitments as enshrined in its key documents, particularly the Putrajaya Vision 2040 and the Aotearoa Plan of Action. APEC member economies have identified innovation and digitalization among the three economic drivers for the region. This is a call to create a conducive, enabling, and market-driven environment, one that is supported by the tools that promote digital transformation.
Developments in the field of AI capture the attention of the public and private sectors. It also places in the spotlight the advantages and challenges that come with the rapid growth of this field. APEC is cognizant of the transformative potential of AI technology throughout the Asia-Pacific region. In the 2024 Machu Picchu Declaration, APEC leaders stated that artificial intelligence has the potential to drive innovation, promote sustainable economic growth, and transform various aspects of daily life across our economies. Furthermore, through its various working groups and fora, APEC has developed into a viable platform and incubator of policies that address the multifaceted implications of artificial intelligence. Slide, please. For one, APEC's Policy Support Unit, or PSU, generates insightful research and policy analysis on the impact of artificial intelligence in the region. It has produced various policy briefs on the topic, including one on navigating artificial intelligence landscape in APEC, balancing development and oversight. This was released in April of this year, which may be of interest to those in government, private sector, and the academe. In addition, the APEC Business Advisory Council, or ABAC, the private sector arm of APEC, also calls for an enabling environment for the sustainable and responsible use of AI. This not only demonstrates the private sector's growing interest in artificial intelligence, but also the potential of ABAC in highlighting this idea. Korea, as the host economy for APEC 2025, has also included AI cooperation among its key deliverables, reflecting the region's mutual aim to attain a coherent, aligned, and comprehensive approach towards AI cooperation. Member economies have identified two APEC working groups whose work is critical in this regard: the Telecommunications and Information Working Group, or TELWEG, and the Digital Economy Steering Group, or DESG. Next, please. Korea is also spearheading various initiatives and projects in this regard, including the APEC Artificial Intelligence Initiative, which is focused on operationalizing three mutually reinforcing ABC goals, which are A, advancing strategic orientation for successful AI transformation within APEC, B, building AI capacities at all levels, and C, cultivating an investment ecosystem for sustainable and robust AI infrastructure. Efforts such as these demonstrate a growing commitment in the Asia-Pacific region to attain a coherent, aligned, and comprehensive approach towards AI adoption and integration. Furthermore, the Republic of Korea is planning to host various meetings to engage APEC economies in meaningful discussions on AI. On 4 to 6 August 2025, during the third senior officials meeting, Korea will also be hosting the Digital and AI Ministerial Meeting, which aims to present a joint ministerial statement that reflects member economies' views and priorities relevant to digital and AI policies. Moreover, on 12 August 2025, a public-private dialogue on artificial intelligence cooperation will be held, where various stakeholders will exchange views on how to fully harness AI towards a more sustainable future, tackle the socio-economic impact of AI transformation, and create awareness within APEC on AI cooperation. Highlighting the growing importance of AI in discourse across the region, various projects have also been proposed to APEC to spark discussions on this field. Among these is the APEC AI Standards Conference, Building a Sustainable AI Ecosystem Tomorrow. This is a project proposed by Korea and co-sponsored by the 9 economies, including the Philippines, that will convene industry leaders to tackle standards and best practices relevant to AI in standardization. The said conference is targeted to be conducted by August this year. Next slide, please. The Philippines plays an active role in AI-related discussions, whether in sectoral, ministerial, or high-level meetings, since it sees the transformative potential of these tools across various fields, whether in human resources development, education, or digital trade and innovation. For example, our colleagues in the Department of Information and Communications Technology are exploring the integration of the DepEd's Education Center for AI Research into its proposed AI governance framework for collaborative development and strategic roadmap to enhance AI development in education. This effort is aligned with the pronouncements made by APEC's education ministers during the 7th APEC Education Ministers meeting held in May of this year at Jeju, Korea. There they underscored the importance of developing our human resources through new and emerging information and communication technologies, such as AI, as well as leveraging AI to drive innovation and attain quality education. Beyond the educational sector, the AI governance framework is also being developed with other government agencies and various stakeholders, recognizing that the issue of AI is broad and cross-cutting. Furthermore, the Philippines also established an expert panel on frontier technologies, which will provide strategic insights into AI and emerging technologies to ensure the adaptiveness of national policies and alignment with global standards. Within government, the DICT is also collaborating with the Civil Service Commission on the Joint Memorandum Circular on Ethical AI in Government to facilitate the development of internal guidelines for the responsible and transparent use of AI in government agencies. Next slide, please. In sum, these efforts are a critical recognition of the power and potential of AI in fostering progress, development, and inclusive economic growth. Discussions and proposals in APEC's different fora demonstrate both a growing interest in AI as well as a common call for continued collaboration so that all economies may reap the benefits of these technologies while ensuring that their adoption is ethical, inclusive, and sustainable. We hope that in the spirit of this year's APEC theme, which is Innovate, Connect, Prosper, all sectors and stakeholders will play an active role in advancing AI as a component of digitalization and progress, not only in the Philippines, but across our region. I look forward to hearing our other panelists' insights on this rapidly evolving field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG Punsalang. And DG Punsalang's presentation reminds us that what we are talking about here is not just something happening in our country, but also something that is being critically discussed in other countries in the region. And again, reminding us also that we need to be able to contribute to the discussions in the region, especially in the development of frameworks that would guide not just the country, but also other countries in APEC and in the rest of Asia. So once again, thank you to our panelists for such thoughtful and energizing discussion. May I invite our panelists on stage for our Q&A. Sir? Unfortunately, Dr. Legara will not be able to join us, but should you have any questions, we can let her know, inform her about these questions, and then we'll get back to you with her response. So now allow me to open the floor for our Q&A. We invite you to engage with our speakers, whether it's a reflection, a clarification, or a challenge to their presentation. So this is your time to raise key questions about what has been presented. Kindly raise your hand and a member of our team will approach you and hand you the microphone so you can express your question. For our online participants, we also invite you to express your questions by typing it on the chat, and then we will have time to read some of your questions. Okay, so while there's no question from the live audience, maybe it's time for me to ask my own question. So maybe for both of the panelists, I think what we are hearing is, especially from the experience in the internet, what we are hearing is that we need to have some governance principles. But one thing that we haven't really talked about is building AI skills. So I'm curious about what has been the initiatives in UP, and also in what's the discussion in the Asia Pacific region about building key AI skills, and what initiatives are being discussed.
Dr. Jalao this morning hinted about the Intelligence Systems Center. So the university is investing to fund postdocs in the different aspects of AI, data science, and complex systems. I'd just like to emphasize that as far as for sustainability, it's important that those we send out abroad should be able to come back with the support, with the enabling environment. Otherwise, if it's just, again, the individual bringing fresh ideas, but it cannot be sustained. So it's important that it must be program-based, meaning the home unit must have critical mass of researchers in the same area where AI is being used. Yeah. That's it. 1 second.
Yes, there has been a general recognition in APEC that given this revolutionary AI breakthrough, there is a need to upskill our human resources in all economies, training. In APEC, when we the finished output, product output in APEC actually is the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting Declaration. It outlines in broad strokes and principles what we are supposed to be doing. No, I want to emphasize though that APEC is a non-binding forum, and that it is consensus-driven. Nevertheless, what the outcomes in the leaders forum and also in the ministerial statements provides an impetus for the member APEC economies. There are about 21 for these declarations and what's stated there to be used as inputs in policy. So regarding the specific problems, these are actually being handled by the working groups. First, you have the working groups. Then whatever is finished goes to the SOM level. Then from the SOM level, it's examined and passed on to the ministers and then the leaders. So many of the examples that were discussed by the panelists here are actually also being reflected in other APEC economies. However, there are certain advantages which some economies have. No, I mean, like for example, you have middle powers like Singapore, Korea, who have, of course, they're richer and they have more resources to develop AI. And of course, China, I mean, second biggest economy in the world, and they subsidize a lot of their operations. So it is incumbent on the Philippines to actually step up on our game. We may not have the resources, but we have the technical resources or even the financing, although there is. But our human resources are there. In fact, among all the Southeast Asian countries, the Philippines is #1 in terms of AI utilization. So it's there. Okay. So I think that precisely because of this forum and the participating agencies, you have a big role to push AI with the national government and also help with the policies. In fact, I'm beginning to see it right now with the DEX initiative on ECAIR that can help address the situation. And of course, the government also has to do its part in terms of connectivity, because a lot can be done through e-learning. Okay, that's how we can also reach the far and underserved communities. There are a lot of people there who will have the talent, but they cannot be reached, or they may not have the resources, but they have the will. So we have to develop our AI infrastructure. Another thing, of course, is we have also to look into the health of our human resources. I mean, we also have to take the wealth. Our people have to have better healthcare and also to be fed adequately, because stunting can also contribute to our problems, no? So that, in a sense, is a nutshell. I mean, all the other APEC economies are already aware of its potential as well as challenges. We have also been pushing ethical AI. In fact, in the last APEC economic leaders meeting in Peru, which the so-called Machu Picchu declaration, it was there. So in broad strokes, of course, we were all concerned about ethical AI, possible hazards, but we're also looking at the opportunity in that. Okay, so I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, DG. And I think that's very helpful, because it presents to us what's happening in the global landscape. We have another question on the floor. Please introduce yourself, your name and affiliation before you answer.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Attorney Alj Mejos. I'm with IBP. And I was interested when the Honorable Director General earlier said that AI is more than just a tool, it's an agent. And my question is, in the context of the academe and the legal practice, what guidelines and principles could be considered in terms of academic honesty and attribution, such as copyright and trademark?
That's not actually part of my remit, but it's also under the ambit of ethical AI. And well, for us, especially the developing countries, middle income countries, this is also a concern, no? They are aware of the possible hazards of indiscriminate and unethical use of AI. I mean, the previous panel speakers already demonstrated that. So it is also up to the concerned stakeholders here, like TEX, precisely. That's why they already came up with this framework as discussed by our panelists. When we have these specific, let's say, principles or frameworks formulated by the concerned agencies, then this will filter down when they participate during some meetings or senior officials meetings. We have about 4 every year. Hopefully this will filter down to the working groups. They will, of course, trash it thresh it out and find commonalities of interest here. Then it will go up the chain of command, and it will be reflected in the declarations. Do not underestimate that APEC is non-binding and consensual by nature, because if we can see that all the economies are one in this, then of course we will have to, number one, adapt principles, and also to, how do you call it, up our game in terms of trying to keep up with them. Our greatest resources are our human resources. The average age of the working Filipino is 25 years old. I think it's the youngest in the APEC. Okay, that's why sometimes you have some certain APEC economies. And another thing, we're very innovative. I mean, it's in terms of, let's say, a coherent national direction towards innovativeness. We have to work on that. But individually, we are very innovative. I mean, look at many of the startups, AI startups in Silicon Valley. They were founded by Filipinos. Some of them come back here. The apps that are made here are also by Filipinos. That's why some economies, they kind to come here, try to learn from us, or even try to have contests to who has the best idea. The thing is, okay, they'll give cash prizes, but once they get the idea, they'll develop it. That's another thing. That's where IPR, intellectual property rights, maybe we can help Filipinos develop these ideas. And of course, we will benefit, not other countries. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see. Then perhaps sir from this side, and then sir.
My question is so my name is Jeff Tocanes. My question is for Professor Almoro. What do you think has been, in your own experience as a professor of physics, what do you think has been the impact on students of AI? Because some people say it has made them lazier. They rely on ChatGPT to do review of lit. Or has it actually made them more innovative, more willing to experiment?
Let me answer in a different tangent way. I'm an editor of Elsevier Journal. So my impression is that the peer review process has not yet caught up with what policy, other than the contributors, the authors should declare any methods or analyses that use AI. However, the real danger, as I see it from an insider, is the reviewers also use ChatGPT. So in other words, you can prompt these to come up with technical and review that you cannot really differentiate if it's done by AI. But anyway, I just shared it because peer review is very important, independent, and also to improve the manuscript. So I guess it also applies to assessment of students' work. And there's really that challenge. And I believe the pedagogy and should level up to how we can leverage this technology.
Thank you. Hello po. Good afternoon. Leo Batukan from DOST, our NCBP, National Committee on Biosafety of the Philippines. So the question is directed to Director General Punsalang. Sir, I've read ASEAN guidelines for AI. They have this line where it says interoperability of AI frameworks across jurisdictions. So I was wondering if APEC has thoughts on this, or if meron po, how do we ano yung mechanisms for the economies to perhaps do this?
Yes, actually, we do. No? It's a work in progress, and it's a carryover with regards to connectivity, ICT connectivity. Like, for example, there's a need for common standards here. So it also applies with AI. Well, you've heard potential problems as well as opportunities. So, in terms of, let's say, well, most AIs are developed or are created in developed countries, of course. So it might reflect their bias. This is also a concern among certain APEC economies, especially developed ones. In fact, some have even said, "What about cultural nuances?" This has to be factored in. But the thing is, will the developed economies or the companies from development, will they allow their AI source codes to be available so that they could input? That also brings the question of IP. And IP being discussed, I mean, it's still like also a work in progress in APEC. But there's also a consensus that they should move forward with regards to the opportunities that AI presents. That's why actually they need also, although the working groups are specialists, experts, there's the need to learn more about AI. So that's where, of course, both at an academic level and also from real life work experience. That's why APEC is not just the leaders, but that's why we have a private sector participation, like I mentioned in my speech. ABAC and PECC, Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, composed of businessmen. So whenever we have the declarations, the leaders' declarations, it's there. The ABAC and PECC get their cues from this. And of course, it goes both ways. They provide real life experience to APEC, the working groups, on how things are being implemented in the private sector. So at least in APEC, the good thing is there's close coordination and cooperation between the private sector and, of course, the leaders, the diplomats, the officials. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Pa. Sir, let me call on you for your question, but at the same time, let me just mention or build on the discussion. Another question via Zoom. I think this may be for Dr. Almoro. Can you talk about some of the partnerships or collaborations you're working on with tech companies or other universities to help prepare students for the job market? Sir, before you answer that, let's hear the other questions.
I'll address this to DG Punsalan. You mentioned earlier, I think, that the Philippines is ranked #1 in implementation of AI in APEC or in ASEAN. Can you expound on that? And also, is there any study or ranking made by APEC as to which country or the ranking of countries as far as AI resources, human resources, or specifically, I'm interested if there is such, what is the rank of the Philippines in the upper, say, portion or middle or low bracket? Thank you.
Okay, so we have two questions, and this will be the last question for this Q&A. One for Dr. Almoro and one for DG Punsalan.
Okay. Thank you for that question. I mentioned a while back that we are #1 in terms of utilization of AI. I think this is just my view, and I base this on newspaper articles which I've read. There are multiple articles on this subject. The majority of those are the personal these apps that are freely available. They find various uses for it. I mean, you have ChatGPT, you have Copilot, and others. And well, of course, it's used in business. It's used in academia. It's even used in business marketing to help increase their efficiency. But that's it. And the majority is individual usage. But that shows that we're not really that intimidated with these new technologies. At least a younger generation. Right? Me, I already have tech phobias. So that's a huge resource which we actually could use. With regards to countries ranking, where do we rank in terms of AI? Of course, I mean, you have the economic superpowers, you have the US, they have the technical scientific know-how, they have the resources, they need to increase their, because these AI centers, data centers, they use so much electricity. So they want US is already complete in terms of energy usage. They want to increase it even further because these data centers use multi-megawatts of power. So they're in a race, actually. They want to be the number one AI power, the US. Of course, they're competing with China, which brings me to my second country, China. For the same reasons, they have a lot of resources available. They have a huge population, very scientific or science-oriented in the STEM fields. Another thing, the government subsidizes. I mean, aside from their trade in a huge way, they subsidize this, and they also, I guess, would subsidize AI operations. Number 3 is probably Singapore. They are also very in here. They want to go in the bigger. They aspire for leadership in the AI field. So these are just but a few countries that are trying to grab the leadership for AI. Us, we have aspirations to put up data centers and AI data centers here in the Philippines and invite investors to do this. But until we address our energy situation, I mean, we'll have a very difficult time in terms of attracting foreign investment here in the AI field, especially creating these AI data centers. I think during this morning, I heard that the UP group here tried to have an AI program run in where?
Sir, yung UP, yung AI program.
And then how much did it cost them?
150,000 in one.
150,000, and that's just one. Okay, so that just goes to show you. That also shows you how profitable AI can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Almora, please, the question on
how the
collaborations with companies.
So I mentioned earlier briefly about the institutionalization of programs. So the framework of research programs is that there will be internal and external affiliates. In other words, not only are the members of these groups from the same department or college, but these groups are open to anybody interested in that thematic area from SUCs, from industry, man on the street, from industry. So, ang suspecha po ay ginagawa na to informally. So gusto lang pong masupport lahat ng klase ng collaboration, particularly those coming from the industry, because they will be the ones bringing the problem that needs to be solved for our dissertation students. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good initiative, no, to hear the partnership between private sector and the university and the dissertation students. So unfortunately, we run out of time for our Q&A. I'm sure there are a lot of people who have burning questions, but once again, allow me to invite everyone to thank our panelists for their time, for their knowledge, and sharing with us their knowledge through our Q&A. The questions and reflections that they have shared to us are truly appreciated. Thank you very much, sir. So at this point, let me pass the mic to Larry for the next part of our program.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so may I request Dr. Almoro po, no? Dr. Punsalan, for picture taking po sa harap. All right? And then Dr. Kimba, please join our panelists. Oh, and by the way, may I also request Dr. Orbeta and Dr. Tuanyo to join us in the picture taking ceremony. Thank you so much po sa ating mga panelists for this afternoon. Indeed, it was a very fruitful afternoon. We have learned a lot. Thank you po. Okay, and that wraps up our discussions for today. So, may energy pa po ba tayo? Hep hep? Hep hep? Medyo mahina. Hep hep? Alright. So, thank you so much po sa inyong participation. To our panelists, thank you once again for sharing your time and expertise with us. With that, we officially close our Q&A session and this panel discussion. Let's give another round of applause to our speakers for their valuable insights, please. Okay. At this juncture, we now move on to the final portion of our program, and we are honored to have with us a distinguished speaker to deliver our closing remarks. Dr. Philip Arnold Tuanyo will offer the final reflections on today's discussions and share a call to action as we look ahead to what comes next. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incoming president of the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, Dr. Philip Arnold Tuanyo. A round of applause, please.
Fellow researchers, academics, distinguished colleagues, and government workers and key partners, good afternoon. As we conclude today's symposium, I would like to thank all of you for coming to this very important symposium. And like all of you, have been inspired by what we have heard and discussed today. We have witnessed the convergence of vision, expertise, and commitment among multiple dimensions of artificial intelligence in education and sustainable development. Our thanks to our keynote speakers, discussant panelists, moderators, and hosts, including Atty. Jimenez, the president of the UP system, of course, the president of the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, Dr. Orbeta, our speakers, Dr. Aldaba, senior advisor of the Department of Education and emeritus research fellow of the PIDS, Dr. Eugene, of the professor of UP, and also Professor Percival Almario, the assistant vice president for research in the office of the vice president for academic affairs at the UP system, the team from the Center for AI Research, including Dr. Erika Legara, the managing director and chief data officer, Dr. Sebastian Ibañez, the deputy chief for AI and data officer, Mr. Minoza and Mr. Sebastian Bundoc, the Director General of the APEC National Secretariat, Mr. Marcos Punsalan, Dr. Jeff Ducanes at the Ateneo de Manila, and also Dr. Francis Kimba, our PASCN Project Director and PIDS Senior Fellow, and of course, Mr. Larry Soribio, our host at the UP. We thank all for the insightful presentations and discussion this afternoon. Professor Jalao reminded us that the responsible AI development must be grounded in human agency, accountability, and ethical considerations. Dr. Ibañez and the ECAIR team demonstrated how these principles translate into practice, from the presenting the Ligtas Project's innovative approach to educational resilience, to their several AI innovation projects that have been transforming Philippine education. We thank also Mr. Minoza and also Mr. Bundoc on the several use cases that they have also presented this afternoon. Professor Almoro's discussion on AI and collaborative mentorship further illustrated how we can also leverage AI tools to foster interdisciplinary research and strengthen innovative ecosystems across APEC member countries to inclusive program-based partnerships. While Dr. Legara discussed governance principles that should actually become overarching principles in the work that guides us. The message is clear. AI is not a distant technological promise, but a present reality with transformative potential for our education system and beyond. In the discussion also this morning, Dr. Aldaba discussed the advantages and disadvantages, the promise and the perils of AI as they transform our economy. And we know that the technology that also provides us with a promise to support the country's economic development. Today's presentations and discussion directly address the barriers that hinder AI adoption in our region, high cost, talent scarcity, infrastructure gaps. The initiative showcase provide concrete responses to the challenges while positioning the country to capture greater economic opportunities from AI, which contribute directly to our development. The alignment between our domestic initiatives and APEC regional cooperation framework, as discussed by Director General Ponsalan, is encouraging. As highlighted in our APEC discussions, innovation and digitalization represent primary economic drivers in the Asia-Pacific region, and the Philippines is positioned to lead in responsible AI development for sustainable education. What has struck me most powerfully is the centrality of education and human resource development has been discussed this afternoon. And also the important point that also Professor Almaro also discussed, that all of these actually link in an interdisciplinary way to become more effective in our development. So the importance really of education that serves as a testing ground for AI applications and the foundation for building human capacity to sustain AI-driven transformation. As also discussed by Professor Almaro, the UP Diliman's pioneering AI graduate programs, combining with cutting-edge research, demonstrate the institutional capacity we must continue to expand. His insights on collaborative mentorship reminds us that sustainable research and innovation require not just technological tools, but inclusive partnerships that strengthen our entire innovation ecosystem. Meanwhile, the ECAIR mission to elevate the Philippines as a center for excellence in AI research shows that we can bridge the gap between innovation and implementation across APEC member countries. I'm glad that our network, the Philippine APEC Study Network, has continued to commit strengthening our research partnership and ensuring research studies translate into evidence policy recommendations. We will continue to contribute to strengthening regional cooperation through APEC while maintaining focus on our objective, ensuring that AI serves the common good by fostering inclusive economic growth, social equity, and sustainable development. Before I conclude, I must express my profound gratitude to the PASCN network. All of the network members are here, and the UP Diliman for their partnership in organizing this symposium. To all our presenters who shared their expertise, and to our APEC senior official who enriched our discussion with perspectives from the different APEC meetings, so that's Director General Ponsalan. We thank you also for the Education Center for AI Research for demonstrating how academic institutions can lead to AI innovation. The sustainable tomorrow we discussed today is not guaranteed. It must be built through thoughtful, collaborative, and principled work. The conversations here must continue in research laboratory, classrooms, and policy meetings, but also should cascade to the rest of the country as well. I invite each of you to push forward the boundaries of what is possible when artificial intelligence is developed in the service of education and sustainable development. Let us ensure that AI revolution is a story of shared prosperity and enhanced opportunity for all Filipinos and peoples of the Asia-Pacific region. The sustainable tomorrow we envision begins with the committed work that we start today. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tuanyo. At this point, we're near the end of our symposium. Once again, thank you to our distinguished presenters and discussants. Your perspectives have truly enriched today's discussions and inspired meaningful reflection as we move forward. Let's give them another round of applause. So to all our participants for today, whether it be on-site or online, we appreciate your attendance today. The speakers' presentations will be available at the PIDS website at www.pids.gov.ph/events. Meanwhile, download a copy of the studies from the link provided in the Zoom chat box and Facebook comment section. We want to hear your thoughts about today's program. Please help us improve our events by answering our feedback form through the link provided in the Zoom chat box and Facebook comments section for our online participants. Please note that the e-certificate of participation will be sent to your email automatically after submitting the completed feedback form. For our on-site participants, a certificate of participation will be distributed upon returning your accomplished feedback form. So I believe you were given feedback forms upon your registration. So your feedback and recommendations will make our upcoming events better. Keep in touch with us as well. Follow PIDS, PASCN, and UP System on Facebook, Twitter or X, and YouTube channels for more updates. Also, feel free to visit our websites for more information. We hope to have you again in our future events. Join the PIDS webinar on June 26. Please visit the PIDS webpage, www.pids.gov.ph/events to learn the details of our upcoming event and register. Finally, we would like to thank our participants from the government and private sectors, academe, civil society, and international development organizations. Your presence and active engagement have made this event truly meaningful. As we draw this symposium to a close, we are reminded of the immense potential and responsibility that comes with advancing AI for a sustainable tomorrow. From the insightful discussions on ethical governance, frameworks to the concrete policy pathways laid out for climate adaptation, education, and digital equity, one message rings clear. AI is not just a tool, it is a force multiplier for sustainable development. But to realize this, we must move beyond dialogue to deliberate policy action. The APEC region, with its diversity and dynamism, has a unique opportunity to lead by example. And the Philippines can be at the forefront by embedding AI into national sustainability agenda in a way that is inclusive, adaptive, and rights-based. We thank all our speakers, partners, and participants for contributing to today's critical conversation. May the insights shared here ripple outward into policies, programs, and partnerships that shape a more resilient, intelligent, and sustainable future for all. For our on-site participants, please enjoy and have some refreshments outside this hall. We also invite our PASCN member institutions for our General Assembly. And once again, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. We look forward to building this tomorrow together. This has been your host, Larry Ilic and Oribio. Thank you, everyone. Dagang salamat and have a great day ahead. One last time, we're going to be in your seats again. Okay. And for our PASCN member institutions, our General Assembly will be at 2:40 p.m. Picture po ulit. Press po tayo ulit sa gitna. May we also invite our tech team to join us.